In my past life, every single girl I chased in college just used me, ignored me, or watched me humiliate myself. But then, I woke up back in freshman year with an absolute cheat system that turned money spent on me into strength, skill, and status. I went back planning revenge. On the college train, a wealthy boyfriend knocked out my tooth and his family offered $800,000. But my spending system credited every single dollar spent on fixing me. That was how my worst enemy became my biggest investor. Rhett Kavanaugh raised his fist again. I just wiped the blood away and told him to go ahead. You are paying by the punch. How much would Rhett fund before realizing his victim was actually profiting? To really get why I wanted another punch, let us go back 24 hours. At my miserable office job, I was 30 and finished. My girlfriend had cheated, and my savings were completely gone. He held up an article about our insanely successful owner, announcing that he went to Crestview State. Same school as Kelvin Archer, he said. Look how differently that worked out. A coworker laughed while I packed my cardboard box. People spent my whole past life treating my kindness like permission. I had paid, apologized, and waited until I was useful to everyone except myself. That night, I stepped over the warning strip on a subway platform. As a train entered the tunnel, those lights rushed closer. The station vanished before it hit, and a flat voice spoke in the pitch black. The spending system activation package is available, with one beginner wish. Choose once, then came the ultimate rule. Verified spending creates points, and points improve approved attributes and skills. Now, I could have easily asked for comfort. Instead, I demanded my wasted years back. Send me to the very beginning, I told the voice. I will handle the rest. Instantly, the darkness snapped away. I opened my eyes in August 2013. Right across the train aisle sat Eliza Sutton, my old school goddess, reading by the window in a summer dress. My phone showed the date. The cheap glasses and train ticket matched. Then Eliza looked right up. Kelvin, are you going to Crestview too? My 19-year-old mouth immediately blurted out that same terrible pickup line from my past life. Maybe fate assigned these seats. Eliza stared at me. You bought the ticket, she said. Brutal. The goddess still had savage timing. In my past life, I flirted until she called her boyfriend. This time I stopped early. Too late. Eliza called toward the next car for Rhett. Rhett strolled down the aisle wearing pricey sneakers and a flashy watch. Eliza's boyfriend wore that title like it was ownership papers. Rhett slammed his hand onto her seat, asking if I was bothering her. Eliza closed her book, saying we went to school together. Rhett scanned my faded shirt, cheap canvas bag, and thick glasses, sneering that I should know when to leave people alone. I headed to the snack counter. Real hunger was way easier than arguing with this jealous trust fund bulldog, so I just bought instant noodles. The moment I paid, my system flashed. Purchase verified. Vision poor, strength low, appearance below average. My starting points were almost useless. This cheat could rebuild me, but I only had enough cash for noodles. What a brutal tutorial. Rhett followed me to the dining car and sneered at my cup. Is that your college meal? He asked, bragging to Eliza that his family could buy her anything. You do not need broke kid food. But Eliza smelled my noodles and wanted some. She literally chose powdered broth over his endless family money. I had some chicken strips and an orange too. When Eliza asked for the chicken, I charged her the exact sticker price. She paid. I returned her change with the orange. Eliza lifted it. What is this? Customer loyalty, I said, and she laughed. Rhett's jaw tightened. A 50-cent orange had officially entered the battle, and that orange was absolutely winning. Rhett slapped the food from my hand. Stop trying to impress my girlfriend. Eliza stood up, telling him to calm down, but he ignored her. Naturally, Rhett pointed right at me. Apologize, grab your bag, and move cars. Other passengers looked up from their phones and books. Good. He wanted a stage. I picked up the orange and wiped it on my sleeve. You are literally shouting at noodles, I told him calmly. I genuinely do not know what you thought would happen. Several passengers laughed, and Rhett shoved me hard into a seat frame. Eliza caught his arm. Stop, she begged. Rhett tore free, shouting that I kept disrespecting him. I stood up on weak knees, my eyesight completely garbage. But his pride was even weaker. Your girlfriend asked for some cheap food, I told him, and you turned it into a hostage negotiation. Rhett grabbed my shirt and threw me into the aisle. My mouth slammed against the metal seat edge, and sharp pain split my jaw. Something hard clicked across the floor, my front tooth. The whole carriage went dead silent as Rhett saw disgust on Eliza's face. He punched me anyway. The first hit hurt, the second tilted the train car, and by the third, passengers were calling the guard. I covered my head as shoes gathered around us. Then the math became beautiful. That's sweet redhead money, and I had plenty of witnesses. Eliza was begging him to stop, but every extra swing only raised the steep price of saving his reputation. I lowered my guard enough for him to see my grin. Is that all? I asked through the blood. Rhett's face twisted. You think this is funny? He spat. I spat blood aside. No, I think it is expensive. He swung again, but Eliza shoved between us, screaming that they were completely done. Get away from him. That hurt him far worse than any punch I could throw. A woman recorded everything, and a student blocked his escape path. Passengers crowded Rhett before the guard could even grab him. The former punching bag had completely won the room. Rhett kept digging. He claimed I provoked him. The woman recording snapped back, you knocked out his tooth. He pointed at me, accusing me of flirting with Eliza. She stepped back. I asked Calvin for food. You attacked him. Next stop, transit police dragged Rhett away. Paramedics loaded me onto a stretcher. My jaw throbbed. My ribs burned. My respiration was already slipping away. Then, the ambulance charge posted. Direct benefit verified. Points credited. I stared at the screen. A loophole. Verified expenses paid for me counted because I was the direct beneficiary. Here is the best part, Rhett's family is basically funding my growth now. My first investor was absolutely cooked. Before the train left the next station, I was already in a private room they paid for. Eliza showed up later, holding my mangled glasses. She quietly set them next to my bed. You look awful, she said. I asked if she meant with my glasses on or off. Eliza tried staying serious. She failed. I pointed to my missing tooth, joking that Rhett improved my ventilation. Eliza covered her mouth, cracking up despite herself. You are impossible, she muttered. Flirting while toothless should be illegal. I had survived worse decisions. She handed me her phone, asking for my number. The unreachable goddess from my past life was adding me while her ex sat under guard. She stared at the screen. Rhett and I are finished. I kept my voice level. Because of today? She shook her head. Today just exposed what I kept excusing. She said I was bleeding but still tracking the crowd. I admitted I enjoyed the rehearsal for 3 seconds. Then, Rhett's parents entered. Mr. Kavanaugh walked in wearing an expensive coat, looking absolutely exhausted. His golden son was caught on video beating up a broke freshman. Mrs. Kavanaugh started apologizing before reaching my bed. We kept cleaning up after him, she admitted, so he thought every mess belonged to someone else. Rhett had finally found a mess with an $800,000 price tag. Their lawyer stood near the door. Perfect. Mr. Kavanaugh placed the paper on my bed, $800,000, plus all medical and private room fees. I touched my missing tooth. Your son kept punching after Eliza stopped him, and that video has clear audio. His wife's hands started shaking. Mr. Kavanaugh pushed the paper closer and nervously glanced toward the door. He wanted the wire done before Rhett made things worse. I accepted, then gave them the exact performance they needed. Money won't fix Rhett, I told his parents. Make him understand that people are not objects he can control. Mrs. Kavanaugh thanked me as they initiated the transfer, repeating her gratitude right until they walked out. Rhett had officially achieved elite clown status. Meanwhile, their lawyer kept the final release tucked in his folder. Of course, Rhett still owed me a formal apology before I signed. Right then, the system dinged. Settlement received. Are you seeing this? Over 3 million points. The exploit on the train was actually real. I spent my points on eyesight first. Immediately, my vision started clearing from the center outward. The room sharpened. Eliza's face came into focus clearer than I had ever seen her. That was just unfair. She looked even better in high definition. Next up, upgrading basic appearance. Swelling remained, but tired skin, bad posture, and facial asymmetry corrected beneath it. The system allowed major appearance adjustments. Regrowing a missing tooth required a higher medical restoration tier. My new face could wait behind the bruises. The gap in my smile stayed as Rhett's receipt. Eliza noticed the change before I even spoke. She had watched me squint through classes for years. Now, I easily read a tiny medical label across the room. She leaned in. Your eyes look different, she noted. I joked that I finally saw the bill. She rolled her eyes and brought me an economic textbook. Eliza placed it on my chest, telling me it should keep me quiet. I simply held it close. Attempted murder all over again. By afternoon, Eliza returned with the web novel she actually liked. We playfully argued over the ridiculous protagonist until visiting hours ended. Before she left, Eliza put her dad on speaker. He had listened to the train recordings. You stayed calmer than men twice your age, her father told me. Thank you for keeping Eliza safe from the worst of it. I told him Rhett was the danger. Eliza helped end it. His tone warmed. In my first life, I mistook small kindnesses for real promises. This time, I watched what people actually did. Eliza kept returning. 2 days later, Rhett arrived to apologize. His father and the lawyer stood behind him while the guard waited outside. Rhett stared at the floor, absolutely silent. Rhett bowed his head, mumbled a quick apology, and stared at the floor. I made him wait even longer. That jealous bulldog loved an audience on the train, but he absolutely hated it now. I made him apologize to Eliza too. Petty? Maybe? But she deserved to hear him admit it out loud. The lawyer slid over the final release. One quick signature. Job done. The system completed the receipt. Verified direct benefits, $1.15 million. After Rhett left, Eliza's dad visited. He thanked me for not blaming his daughter, offering a thick envelope of cash. I pushed it back. Eliza was a victim too. No charge for her family. Her dad stared at me, then slowly put the money away. Come visit when you are settled, he told me. Our door is open. Eliza smiled beside him. Rhett had lost everything: his girl, his parents' cash, the crowd, and that fake story he tried telling. I walked away with a settlement, over 3 million points, Eliza's number, and one ugly missing tooth. The money cleared. Now get this, I locked in my next purchases before anyone from college could see this doormat again. The morning after discharge, I took Rhett's settlement card straight to 2 starter condos near campus. Time to buy, 2 doors. My bank linked the settlement directly to a black tier card generated by the system. The agent saw a beat-up freshman, a canvas bag, and 1 premium card. Her smile turned crooked. She asked if my parents were joining. I shook my head. No. She opened a cheaper brochure. Discuss rentals in your budget, she suggested, but I pointed at 2 small units. I am buying those. The agent stared right at my face. Honestly, my missing tooth was doing 0 favors for my credibility. But I remembered this district. 2 years later, a massive redevelopment boom would double the rents here and skyrocket property values. I put down huge down payments, financed the rest, and hired rental management. Just like that, boom. 2 rentals, 0 lectures. The black card cleared instantly, and the agent stood up way straighter. She called the manager right in front of me. 1 unit already had a tenant. The second needed paint. Both would make money way before the big boom started. Mr. Archer, we can handle everything, she promised. 5 minutes ago, she offered that cheap brochure. Now, she's offering me coffee with both hands, calling me Mr. I walked out with 2 sets of keys and a much thinner balance. The properties were smart. They also trapped my cash where I couldn't easily spend it. That afternoon, I booked a pretty sweet luxury suite near campus and opened the spending system. My settlement became property, but the points still waited. First, I tried fixing my tooth. Medical restoration locked, system level 2 required. 3 advanced health skills had to hit level 3. I just stared at the screen. The system happily fixed my eyesight, cleaned up my face, but denied restoring 1 single tooth out of sheer professional spite. Great priorities. Upgraded, I raised the system to level 2. New options unlocked, better attributes, professional skills, and a slight chance for themed gifts. That last rule mattered. Buy a normal item, and the system might drop a matching bonus. I bought finance and accounting skills. The wave of knowledge hit hard enough to completely fold me over. Balance sheets, pricing models, and tax rules slammed into my brain. My nose bled, the room tilted. Power always has a price. Good. At least the cheat was honest. Once the pressure passed, I read the contracts and saw every loophole. Next, I dumped points into strength, coordination, height, posture, and skin, and facial balance. My shoulders widened, core tightened, and the system gave me an extra inch of height. A completely different guy stared back from the mirror, barely looking like the old weak me. When room service arrived, the attendant checked the room number twice, then squinted and asked if I was Mr. Archer. Was it still me? She stared from my ID to my face, getting extremely careful. The tooth gap stayed. Whatever. I kept the gap as Rhett's permanent penalty receipt. 2 weeks later, after the long hospital stay delayed my registration, I walked right onto campus. Crestview was just the lower tier branch campus attached to a much more famous main university. Apologizing. In my past life, I arrived here constantly apologizing for existing. But this time, the administrator stared at my medical records, then froze when I paid with my black card. Now look at this. I demanded the quiet top-floor dorm instead of my old crowded room, but he claimed freshmen rarely get upgrades. I dropped the medical note by the paid rent receipt. Instantly, she stopped talking. The administrator saw her chance and ran. Outside, 2 women spun around to stare. One literally walked straight into a sign. By the fountain, guys eyed my key, then my face. By lunch, total strangers kept asking which elite family I belonged to. I used to blame my glasses for everything. Turns out they were just masking my real looks. Honestly, who can blame me for loving that? Funds were getting tight after all those suites and upgrades. On my way to class, a street peddler waved a self-help book. Improve your mind for $10, he promised. I handed over the cash. It was a bold claim, but I had to test the rules. The system chimed before I even reached the corner. New themed gift acquired. A digital study guide popped up in my inventory. It cost virtually nothing and boosted my focus through studying. My $10 experiment easily beat a massive upgrade price. For once, a cheap risk actually paid off. The next morning, the finance classroom went completely silent. I had missed weeks because Rhett used my face as a punching bag. Now, everyone stared like that beating upgraded my look. I faced the room. I am Calvin Archer. I am late, single, and taking contact requests from girls with great attendance. Several girls laughed. A few phones instantly came out. One girl added me before I sat down, while another asked if I modeled. The guys watched the focus shift in real time. Honestly, after being invisible so long, let me enjoy this. I was totally allowed to enjoy the new look. At the front desk, class monitor Renee Chandler collected fees. Renee did not laugh. She was proud, sharp, and pretty cruel to the old me. This girl never lost an argument. The monitor held out her hand. $200. I paid her the fee. Does that include your number? I teased. Renee closed the book, saying it only bought the privilege of leaving. Same temper, better lighting. Kayla Donnelly leaned over from the next row. She was the classmate who took my gifts in the first life while keeping me permanently friend-zoned. She smiled at my old phone. Asking if the hospital took all my money, the gold digger started her audit. I looked down. Those shoes are cute. Kayla brightened. Really? I nodded. Yeah. They nearly distracted me from the interview. Beside her, green-haired Jillian Avery giggled into her notebook. Kayla recovered fast, saying she was just making conversation. I replied that I was too. Kayla leaned closer, asking what my family did. So I told her. Mostly they just worry about me, I said. Kayla kept pressing, asking what I drove. I pointed toward the train station. Jillian laughed again. Kayla tapped my outdated phone, calling it camouflage as she leaned in close. Back then, one compliment from Kayla would drain my entire wallet. This time, she got nothing but a shut door. A classmate asked if I found Renee to be the prettiest girl here. Renee kept writing, but her shoulders went totally stiff. I care more about inner beauty, I replied. Renee's pen stopped instantly. Jillian whispered that it sounded pretty targeted. It found its mark, I smiled. Renee looked up, asking if I always talk this much. Only when the class monitor keeps asking questions. Her furious stare promised future paperwork and potential arson. That night in the top-floor dorm room, 3 strangers were already treating my bed like their personal property. Cody Maddox sat on my mattress eating chips. He had the face of a guy who spreads gossip across campus before breakfast. Jordan Keller stood by the window with crossed arms, watching me like protecting this room was his unpaid full-time job. Our quiet roommate stacked boxes on my desk. Cody pointed at the remaining empty bunk. Take that one. We already settled this, Cody said. I dropped my bag. Get off my bed. Jordan stepped forward. Are you planning to make us? Jordan asked. I pulled a heavy claw hammer from my bag, checked the head, and set it on the desk. Planning? No, I'm just tired. Nobody said a word. I picked up a box and set it next to Cody. This yours? Cody jumped up so fast, his chips spilled. The quiet roommate grabbed 2 bags. Jordan kept staring at the hammer, then at my calm face. I asked where they were going. Jordan opened the door, offering some space. I nodded, and they quietly left. I had never threatened anyone. Their imaginations did all the heavy lifting. By morning, Cody told the entire floor that the handsome new guy slept with a hammer and smiled during confrontations. My crazy reputation was born before I unpacked, and soon girls started crowding the elevator. Guys stopped touching my things. Cody and Jordan returned quietly, always asked before using the desk, and became highly motivated roommates. Cody actually brought me breakfast, announcing we should try starting over. I stared at the food and asked if the hammer was included. Cody almost dropped the bag while Jordan laughed. That running joke kept everyone away better than any lock. Plus, my wealth became a major campus mystery. Kayla shared her camouflage theory with Jillian, who started bringing snacks under the guise of research. I ignored their fake friendliness and kept studying. Somehow, that annoyed people way more than chasing their attention. 3 days later, Renee slid into the seat opposite me at the library. She bluntly declared that I got dumped, making me look up from my book. I wished her a good afternoon, but Renee just tapped my schedule, insisting guys only change like this after heartbreak. She kept going, saying I disappeared to rebuild myself and make my cheating ex regret it. By the time she finished, she had imagined a dramatic train station breakup and a wealthy rival. I just stared. I asked if she wrote novels. Her face flickered, and right then, I knew. Back in my past life, I saw her secret login. Back then, she had aggressively shoved me away before I could see anything else, but I still remembered that green cucumber avatar and the way she slammed her laptop shut. Younger me thought she was hiding a secret boyfriend, but my adult self instantly recognized a writer dashboard. Renee suddenly stood up, claiming she had class business, and hurried off. She had just handed me the key to her secret. That very night, back in the dorm, I ordered a high-end laptop, a brand new phone, and a separate SIM. That purchase triggered another system reward, a high-tech anonymous super SIM. It offered masked registration, a clean backup number, and a voice filter. Perfect for causing some real trouble. The burner number worked instantly. I tested the voice filter, heard a total stranger's voice, and saved it for later. Searching the username fragment, I found one account that perfectly matched her distinct avatar and writing style. Her pen name was Velvet Cucumber. I sent a request, adding a question about a deleted chapter only she would know. But before she replied, Derek Larkin snatched my notebook the next morning. He was this loud, arrogant classmate who bragged about his family owning luxury towers. This landlord prince waved my personal notes in front of the entire class. Derek shouted that Calvin is studying condos, hoping reading about rich people makes him wealthy. Renee looked over. Kayla turned around, enjoying the show. I held out my hand and demanded my notebook back, but Derek just laughed. When I calmly replied that we owned 2 condos, the room burst into laughter. Derek laughed loudest, slapping my notebook. He sneered to Renee that owning 2 cheap units does not mean I understand the real estate market. Bragging that his family owned the entire skyline and multiple skyscrapers, he spread his arms. He really should have stopped there. In my past life, his family fought publicly over those exact apartments. I used to rent nearby and followed the court drama closely. Standing up, I told him his family only co-owned some units. They belonged to a corporation. Watch his arrogant smirk instantly vanish as I keep pushing. Your dad manages 1 unit, and the rest are locked in a family lawsuit. Show us a deed for 1 building. He started glancing nervously toward the exit. I pointed out the window and challenged him to name the developer on the deed. He stammered, completely speechless, as Renee shut her ledger and noted I had only asked for 1 deed. Kayla stopped smiling as the class waited. Derek set my notebook down, muttering that it was private family business. Just 5 seconds ago, it was public family pride. He completely shut up. His friends silently deleted their messages asking him for favors, while Kayla turned her chair completely away from his desk. Our landlord prince sat back down, now missing all those skyscrapers. After class, Renee blocked my path near the door. She demanded to know how I found out, so I just said I read. My phone buzzed right then. Velvet Cucumber had accepted my request. Renee was glaring at me in person, completely unaware her digital door was wide open. By lunchtime, the very next day, we were back in the finance lecture hall. Derek's public humiliation completely shifted the power dynamics. He sat silently while Kayla brought me lunch. Jillian brought dessert. And Renee glared at both girls, while her suspected online persona waited silently on my screen. One answer about that deleted chapter would confirm if it was her. Kayla slid a meal box onto my desk. I claimed I was broke. Looking at my new laptop, she laughed at my high-end definition of broke. Jillian set down a drink. She is rich in mystery, which is a terrible currency. Just keep the food coming. The calculator-wielding gold digger once trained me to pay for every crumb of attention. Now she is buying the crumbs. Renee watched us from the front row. Snaps that class starts in 3 minutes. I opened Kayla's box. Then why is the service improving? Her pen pressed down hard enough to mark the very next page. That afternoon, I returned with an expensive cake and fruit cups for everyone who fed me. Kayla got strawberries, Jillian got melon, but Renee got nothing until she asked. Renee stood by my desk asking for hers. I answered, I thought you cared about inner qualities. Her smile turned quite dangerous. Calvin slid her a mango cup, and our volcano of a class monitor swiped it without a single thank you. That definitely counted. When classmates asked what kind of woman I liked, I gave different answers while Kayla looked hopeful. Jillian looked entertained and Renee looked annoyed. Kayla demanded an option pretty or loyal. I answered that both sounded efficient. When Jillian leaned over, I told her rich, because I am open to scholarships. Renee closed her folder. She said I like attention. I looked at her, you noticed. The attention was finally mine, and I kept them competing. The next big distraction was a Saturday safari trip, with Renee busy collecting payments and assigning our meeting points. She never thanked me for that mango, so over the next 3 days, I sent small donations to her author page. Her dashboard tracked every single payment. Real money made a completely anonymous stranger impossible to ignore. On the 3rd night in the dorm, Velvet Cucumber finally messaged me back asking why I was questioning a deleted chapter. I typed back because the published version ends with a blue umbrella and absolutely no explanation. She went silent. Then she replied it belonged to the heroine's mother. That was the ultimate proof. Only the author knew that deleted ending. Renee Chandler was Velvet Cucumber. You have to love this. She had zero clue her anonymous fan was the very guy she wanted kicked out of her class. Talk about a beautiful mess. I stopped typing right there. Letting Renee wonder was way more useful than pushing. Saturday morning, The class met up at the subway for the prepaid safari. Kayla grabbed my left arm while Jillian claimed the right, both calling it crowd control. Renee glared at us and marked her attendance sheet with completely unnecessary violence. I slipped away near the restrooms and sent her a private text. Emergency? I am trapped without paper. She replied instantly. Why are you telling me? Is this some class monitor duty? Renee shot back. Ask Kayla, she seems fully committed to your survival. I texted back that I needed someone responsible. 3 dots appeared, vanished, then came back. Renee asked what she would get. Offering one sincere compliment only made Renee demand 2. I called her greedy, so she told me to stay trapped. She looked great in that fitted safari outfit, but absolutely terrifying holding her attendance sheet. Both were true, but that compliment worked. Our class monitor arrived near the restroom carrying tissues and an expression normally reserved for investigating tax fraud. I stepped out with 2 ice creams. Renee stopped and glared, saying I lied, but I held up the cones and said I simply upgraded the emergency. She took one, calling me unbearable. I smiled, yet you came. She bit the treat and looked away. She claimed she came for the class. I nodded, of course, because the class loves vanilla. Honestly, her deep blush was winning this argument. The spending system chimed, announcing a new flirting skill was acquired. I quickly upgraded it before Renee could even finish her cone. Shamelessness apparently had a real career path here. Suddenly, a kid chasing a balloon clipped my knee right by the bench. I stumbled into Renee. One hand grabbed her waist while the other crushed my ice cream against my shirt. Her shoulder hit my chest. We froze before she shoved me upright, face burning red. Right then, Kayla stopped a few steps away and hooked her arm through mine. There you are, she purred, before glaring right at Renee's ice cream. Kayla asked if I bought that for her. Renee stood up, claiming I owed her. Kayla glared as Renee's eyes met mine. Emergency services, I nearly choked. One fake bathroom crisis had created a massive jealousy problem. Talk about efficient work. On our ride back, Kayla stopped right beside a jewelry display and admired a very familiar necklace. Back in my first life, I saved for months to buy her that exact design, hoping it would make her choose me. It only made me easier to exploit. I bought the necklace immediately. Kayla's face completely lit up when I handed her the box, asking if I remembered she liked this. My reply was simple, I remembered everything. She heard romance, but I heard a closing account. This was the last gift from the version of me who begged. Her smile faltered, but seeing the price tag brought it right back. Renee watched us through the store window, her gaze locked onto the jewelry box until I turned around. The purchase triggered another system gift, a pet collar that adds a mild mood and rapport modifier. This system collar cannot actually force action or create consent. I stared at the dark necklace in my inventory, it felt like a cheap prize. The bonus reward basically screamed legal drama and rumors. But honestly, I already knew this collar was bad news. I stuffed the item in storage since my life was already chaotic enough. That night, Velvet Cucumber sent me a brand new chapter of her romance novel. Her main girl changed her entire personality just to get saved. And the arrogant executive won every argument by bragging about his wealth. Even Derek would call that cheap. I marked 3 issues and rewrote the scene. Velvet Cucumber complained that I cut half her dialogue. I replied that it repeated the same threat. She argued back that he needed to feel dominant. I answered that he can dominate a scene without giving a quarterly financial presentation. She went totally silent for 5 minutes. Then she messaged that my version was better. Online, Renee actually accepted my judgment. She would never admit that to my face, so I sent one proposal. Let's co-write this book, split the earnings 50-50, and let the platform track the cash. Velvet Cucumber agreed. We uploaded our revised chapter the next morning. The comments got way better, and by nightfall, our first joint payout hit the dashboard. Renee checked the screen during class and failed to hide her smile, but the second she caught me watching, she forced on her usual blank expression. She begged the online stranger for another scene while completely ignoring the real Calvin Archer. A few days later, Cody dragged me to a group dinner where Victoria Whitmore joined the table. She was exceptionally rich, gorgeous, and the biggest legend on campus. The whole table literally went silent before she even spoke. You could feel the shift in the air. She wore a stunning black dress that forced every guy to sit up straighter. I noticed too, but I still knew how to speak. Victoria looked at me. So you are the freshman with the hammer, Cody grinned, adding that I also have 3 girls feeding me. Cody was basically acting like a gossip reporter. I told Victoria I only have 1 hammer, and those girls are independent contractors. Victoria laughed. She sat right beside me. 10 minutes later, Renee showed up for the exact same dinner. She froze at the edge of the room when she saw Victoria leaning close. Her eyes darted from Victoria's dress straight to my plate. I held up the box and told her there was some fried rice left. She snapped that I saved her leftovers. I countered that she arrived late. Victoria hid a quick smile behind her glass. Renee grabbed the box and stormed out. Seeing her leave hurt more than expected, even if I originally wanted that reaction. Realizing I had messed up, I chased her outside with fresh fried rice. Renee crossed her arms and told me to give it to Victoria. I argued that Victoria already has food. Renee snapped back that Victoria clearly has my attention too. Jealousy. She finally let it slip out loud. But when I offered the food again, she rejected it and walked away. 5 minutes later, Velvet Cucumber texted that Calvin Archer was just a flashy show-off eating with a rich girl. I quickly logged into my secret profile. I messaged that he is playing hot and cold. She asked why anyone would do that. I replied to make a proud girl show what she wants. Read receipt. Renee stood across the street, totally glued to her phone screen. My deception worked perfectly, but things got dirtier every time she trusted the anonymous version of me. Cody wanted karaoke. I refused. The big national investment challenge was starting soon. Winning meant controlling a massive $1 million investment account. I was not trading prep time for terrible singing and seating fights. Naturally, Cody immediately exposed my rejection to our entire class group chat that night. Velvet Cucumber texted, asking if I chose the contest over Victoria. I wrote back that I chose the competition. Look at this, Kayla texted an emergency, and I rushed to a cafe where a stranger was grabbing Renee's wrist. 3 girls had been dining near the back, and a crowd of thugs completely blocked their exit. This loud guy grabbed Renee and laughed when she ordered him to let go. I stepped in. Release her. The guy looked at my face and gripped her even tighter, demanding to know who I was. Last warning. He threw Renee to the side and swung a wild punch, but thanks to my upgraded brain, I easily read his entire movement. My upgrades handled the rest. Effortless. I stepped inside, caught his wrist, locked the elbow, and slammed him face first onto a table without breaking anything major. His friend stood, so I twisted his arm. The dude yelled at his friends to sit back down. They complied. Renee rubbed her wrist while Kayla and Jillian grabbed their bags and ran. I let him go, telling him it was over. He just slumped over his arm, completely defeated. We escaped before managers and cops could turn a clean rescue into a massive headache. Once we got outside, Renee just stared at me. I pointed at Kayla, asking if she followed us. She just smugly waved her phone like it was a genius move. I smirked at Renee. Congratulations on finally getting that cheesy rescue scene you pretend to hate. She froze. My joke hit way too close to her hidden secret. Relax, I whispered. Your secret fantasy is completely safe with me. But she still stared daggers the whole way back. The next morning, Professor Madsen caught me casually solving the advanced challenge problems right during his finance lecture. He stopped right by my desk, wearing his classic disappointed teacher face. Tapping my sheet, he challenged me to teach the lesson if I was so smart. The room turned. Renee crossed her arms in absolute doubt. Derek finally smiled, expecting a total train wreck. He served up the single hardest finance problem in the book. I solved it instantly and explained the rule in plain English. Then came a second problem. Cracked it. By the third, Derek was not smiling. The professor dropped the marker, demanding to know where I learned this. I just shrugged and said reading. Then keep reading, he told me. I want you on the national investment team. And just like that, I had a massive target on my back. Talk about a brutal plot twist. Professor Madsen let me finish the lesson. When I sat down, classmates crowded me. Kayla and Jillian swarmed both sides. Renee stood near the aisle, watching every girl surround me. Even the guys who ignored me wanted notes. Derek packed up early. That evening, my online editor, Velvet Cucumber, complained about some arrogant jerk in her class. I told her to beat him where it actually hurts. Make your book a massive success. She sent a revised outline within the hour. Then, another text popped up. She wrote that she could not make the dominant scene feel real without a physical reference prop. That system pet collar sat there like a bad choice with free shipping. Yet, by Monday, this stupid collar would embarrass one girl, start a massive school rumor, and win over a billionaire father. On Sunday night, I boxed up the system collar and mailed it, using my anonymous editor handle. Monday at lunch, she set the unopened box by Victoria. The collar actually had a charm modifier. It could not force anyone to do anything. But system rules did not cover the packaging. Kayla spotted the box first in the packed cafeteria. 5 of us sat at one window table, brimming with curiosity. Kayla smirked. A secret admirer. Renee grabbed it, claiming research. Jillian giggled over her drink, making it sound way more suspicious. Who gets research material with no return address? Renee glared at me, but I just kept eating my food. I wanted to see how this played out. Renee reached for it, but Kayla snatched it first. She ripped it open and dumped it. A sleek black pet collar fell right onto Victoria's white napkin. The metal ring clinked loud against the plate. Oh man, everyone in the room definitely heard that. Kayla lifted the collar. Renee completely lost her color, begging her to put it down. Jillian read the manual and froze. Victoria looked at the leather. You brought this to lunch? Renee lunged for it, but Kayla held it away, asking who sent a dog collar. Renee snapped. Nearby students turned. Victoria raised an eyebrow, asking if she writes. She had dodged the collar question but exposed her author's secret. Desperate, she claimed it was for class. Kayla stared. Which class? Renee tensed up as Jillian tried to bail her out. Maybe theater, Jillian said. Victoria touched the metal, noting it looked way too high quality. The table behind us laughed. Renee glared at me, knowing I was the only one with answers. If I spoke, I would expose her online cover. Give it back, I told the table. Why defend her? Kayla asked. Because opening other people's mail is trashy, I replied. She threw it down. Renee snatched it back instantly while shocked onlookers began whispering Victoria's name. Phones came out. Someone loudly wondered if Renee bought that kinky collar for Victoria. The rumor exploded instantly. Leave me out of this, Victoria snapped, as Renee panicked. It has nothing to do with her, Renee insisted. Naturally, everyone believed the opposite. Our perfect class monitor volcano finally met an explosion she could not control. I let out a quick laugh and she snapped. She slapped me right across the face, freezing the entire table. Her eyes welled with tears as she demanded if I found this funny. My smile quickly vanished. Renee shoved the collar away and stormed out as everyone parted. Absolute silence followed her departure. The package started as a cruel joke, but Renee's tears made it serious. Kayla just stared down at the table. Victoria forcefully pushed a nearby student's recording phone down. Meanwhile, Jillian grabbed Renee's bag and rushed out right behind her. I quickly bought 2 ice creams to chase after them. But before reaching the courtyard, my spending system triggered yet another themed bonus gift. A special candy that lowers hesitation for requests already being considered. It cannot force desire or override refusal. Suddenly, a wrapped candy popped right into my inventory. The system turned an ice cream apology into a highly suspicious bonus. You have to admit, even our game tutorials have rules now. I caught up with Renee behind the arts building, where Jillian had left her some space. She was sitting on a wall, arms crossed tight. Offering her the treat, she completely ignored it. Sitting down beside her, I admitted I should have stopped laughing when she looked terrified. Renee stared ahead, complaining that everyone thinks she and Victoria are using collars. I struggled to keep a completely straight face. Smiling now would be a massive mistake. I placed the ice cream down, advising her that people lose interest if you stop reacting to shame. Renee snapped that it was easy for me since nobody thinks I am dating Victoria. I told her to give it some time. She glared at me, making me raise both hands in surrender. Terrible timing. But she still picked up the ice cream for an angry bite. I showed her the wrapped candy, claiming the shop just threw it in. Renee snatched the promotional sweet and started peeling the wrapper off. She ate it quietly, so I jokingly suggested her best move was marching right into Victoria's lecture hall to make a loud, public confession. Throwing her plastic spoon at my chest, she showed that her system refusal remained fully operational. I just caught it. Seriously though, I told her to pick a version of the story she can live with, and act like everyone else is just late. As she stared at the melting cup, I added that she should stop letting Kayla control which parts of her life go public. Renee's jaw tightened. She looked up toward the main building instead of staring at the dirt. I lightly tapped the collar box sitting beside her. Reminding her about the research, I smiled and asked if she wanted to test the scene. She stared, asking if I meant with me. I teased her. She shoved the box into my chest, yelling absolutely not. She stood up, grabbed the ice cream and collar box, and walked away. The magic candy lowered her hesitation, but Renee's stubborn mind still refused me completely. Back in the dorm that evening, Cody shoved a popular campus clip right under my nose, looking incredibly pleased with himself. Get ready for this. Cody announces she chose pure violence, showing me a clip from Victoria's lecture. Renee walked straight through the door while the lecturer was still actively speaking. She marched right up to Victoria. Phones flew up immediately before Renee grabbed her waist and spun toward the cameras. Renee loudly announced that, since everyone already decided, they are officially together. Victoria struggled to break free, demanding that Renee release her. Hugging her even tighter, she held up the infamous collar box, announcing they would be using it for research. Students stood up, lifting their phones even higher while the lecturer completely froze. Victoria's cold expression suddenly turned extremely dangerous. Renee smirked as if public humiliation was a shared streaming service. Cody immediately replayed the legendary footage. I cut him off before he could play it again. Renee took my dumb joke and weaponized it. Talk about choosing absolute arson. 10 minutes later, Velvet Cucumber messaged me, saying Kayla only opened the box because she is after Calvin. She wanted to humiliate Renee, which confirmed my suspicions. But Renee just went ahead and accused her out loud. I advised her to make anyone repeating rumors pay a heavy social cost. She replied that some guy was already using this to challenge her leadership. Texting back, I told her to let him insult her, then ask why he saved and reposted a private recording. Force him to explain his obsession publicly. The next morning, Renee intercepted me right outside class. She warned me she was using my strategy, blaming me if it fails. 10 minutes later, she put the plan into action. Her class rivals stood right up, calling her completely unfit to lead since she turned herself into a massive campus joke. Renee calmly asked why he saved and shared that private video. The entire room laughed him down, forcing him to sit in silence. Later that night, Velvet Cucumber asked how to show Calvin she likes guys. I told her to invite him somewhere private before he gives up. She decided on an escape room so she could pretend to get scared. I stared at the screen in pure disbelief. Renee literally just detailed her entire dating trap to the exact guy she was going to use it on. This regression life rules. I almost felt guilty enjoying this advantage so much. Come Saturday morning, Renee cornered me on the track and dragged me downtown. Renee had curled her hair and wore a tight red top. She looked good, annoyingly good. So I asked where Victoria was. Renee's eyes narrowed, demanding to know why Victoria would even show up. I reminded her they announced a relationship in front of 40 witnesses. She locked her arm through mine. Mine. Today was about me, she whispered. And any normal man would get it. Even with my upgraded brain, I still chose absolute chaos in this fake workshop. Renee spent the first 10 minutes pretending the props totally bored her, but brushed my arm whenever the lights flickered. I whispered her fear had perfect timing. She snapped back. My ego needed its own ticket. Then, complete darkness. A chainsaw roared behind us, immediately shattering Renee's little act. She grabbed my shirt with both hands and tried to climb behind me. The masked actor charged straight at us. I quickly turned, shielding Renee with my body and pushing through the next door before she tore my sleeve. The actor stopped, but she kept holding me. Looking down at her, I asked if she was protecting me from behind my spine. She finally let go of my shirt. She punched my shoulder. Hard. Outside the final room, Renee stopped on the sidewalk. Looking down, she muttered about needing to be seen with a man. Seriously? I asked if I was just her emergency safety certificate. Renee snapped her head up to protest, but I cut her off, telling her to find someone else for the job before walking away. Sure, I had outsmarted financial markets, a wealthy bully, and a secret author account, but a proud girl tries confessing, and I fold completely. Renee called Victoria before I even got back to campus. I only knew because Victoria texted me 40 minutes later. Victoria asked what I did to Renee, and I replied that I just misunderstood a sentence. She then invited me to dinner. I turned her down. Busy. Plus, the finance challenge was close. She asked again, and I refused. For the third invite, Victoria simply texted that Renee said I walked out, and I needed to explain myself. 2 weeks later, I met Victoria downtown. She arrived in a cream dress, looking expensive enough to make the menu apologize. I definitely noticed her. Victoria sat across from me, reminding me that I had rejected her invitations twice. Telling her I was busy, Victoria raised her phone, demanded a smile, and snapped the picture anyway. The photo captured my hand, her dress, and our 2 plates. Her post went live with a restaurant tag before our server returned. Her caption read, "Finally a quiet dinner," which was obviously aimed at Renee. Sure enough, Renee arrived 12 minutes later. She marched right over, wrapped both arms around Victoria, and rested her chin comfortably on the heiress's shoulder. Renee complained we started without her. Victoria's smile tightened, dryly noting she had not made a group reservation. Renee squeezed her tightly, muttering about sharing. My dinner had officially turned into a bizarre custody dispute between 2 girls fighting over me. Honestly, just imagine how completely insane that dynamic actually felt. As I sat holding my chopsticks before they could fight, a server approached Victoria to say her father was upstairs with her uncle. Victoria froze instantly, dead still. Her father, Randall Whitmore, came down before she could even hide. Randall controlled Whitmore Capital, carrying the effortless posture of a powerful man whose phone calls always got answered. He spotted his daughter dining with a man and smiled warmly, but that look quickly faded when he noticed Renee clinging to her. Randall asked carefully who her friends were. Victoria immediately gestured in my direction, introducing me as Calvin Archer. Calling me the finance student he'd heard of, Randall shook my hand warmly with both of his. He recognized me from the train incident and the investment team. Clearly, campus rumors had traveled much farther than I ever expected. Randall invited me upstairs. The girls stayed below. On the way up, the uncle was openly discussing Victoria's rejected suitors. He questioned how Randall planned to hand over Whitmore Capital to her all by herself. Randall replied that he needed someone competent beside her, someone she would actually listen to. That was all I heard before walking in. I greeted the uncle, sat down, and answered their questions confidently without pleading for approval. Then Randall asked me about finance. I gave a highly precise answer regarding risk and cash flow. When the uncle asked about my family, I simply said I support myself. Randall poured my tea personally instead of calling a server. But when we returned downstairs, Renee and Victoria had made things far worse. Renee still clung to Victoria, no escape, but Victoria stopped running and started fighting back. Victoria told Randall that Renee likes accessories, while Renee sweetly countered that Victoria loves being in charge. Randall froze, his glass stopping halfway to his mouth. The uncle stared at me like I was a firefighter entering a burning building. Renee added they would share the gift, making Randall choke on his drink while Victoria patted his back. "Breathe, Dad." Randall looked from Victoria to Renee, then turned and gripped my shoulder tightly. "Calvin, all three of you are coming to dinner at our place." Victoria frowned. "Why him?" But Randall kept his hand on my shoulder. "Because I invited him." Renee finally let go of Victoria, a wild rumor that started with a caller in the cafeteria. By the time dinner ended, a billionaire father was treating me like his golden ticket. Randall Whitmore's sudden invitation dragged cafeteria gossip straight into campus politics. The very next night, Cody warned me that one of Victoria's richest admirers was digging into my background. Dominic Harrow came from massive old money and treated Victoria's attention like his personal property. This rich peacock wanted my file after hearing her dad invite me. Cody crashed on my bed. "Dominic wants to know if you're actually rich." I asked Cody what he told him. Cody grinned, saying he told him I own a hammer. Jordan, my cautious roommate, looked up from his desk. "He doesn't ask casual questions." Cody added that he sends goons until somebody tells him what he wants. Cody also mentioned he asked if Victoria sat by you on purpose. Closing my notebook, I asked what he told him. I told him she moved Renee's leftovers first. Cody basically just committed romantic arson. Excellent. My financial history was totally blank. Dominic's family wealth usually bought him absolute obedience. People cleared seats for him and clubs answered instantly. Yet that week, Victoria walked right past him without even slowing down. I guessed he absolutely hated being treated like a piece of watch-wearing furniture. Now watch this. Later that night, my publishing dashboard updated with another huge payout from the web novel. I sent Renee her half anonymously. Velvet Cucumber replied saying she needed more money. I asked if she wanted a new laptop. She typed back that a wealthy woman was competing for the guy she liked. The text sat on my screen while the real Renee studied nearby. I replied, "Fight back with talent and looks. Wealthy guys notice both." She asked which one mattered more. I wrote that talent keeps him, but a killer dress makes the rival panic first. Velvet Cucumber typed, "What if the rich girl looks better?" I told her, "Earn enough to stop measuring yourself with her ruler." 3 dots popped up, then she texted, "You make everything sound too easy." I replied that I just make excuses sound expensive. Suddenly, Renee looked up from her phone and caught me smiling. Our class monitor narrowed her eyes, typing back, "Good." The anonymous chat had given her a plan, and now the real Renee stared at me. On Monday morning, Professor Madsen wrote the National Investment Challenge up on the board. The contest had 3 simple stages: test accounts, larger accounts, then national rankings. Professor Madsen capped his marker, stating the top winner gets $1 million final account. The class started whispering. Renee raised her hand to ask if students could make side wagers. Professor Madsen looked at me and sighed. "I am not enforcing your nonsense," he warned. Renee stood up, facing my desk. She claimed I acted too cocky. I replied, "Only around volunteers." Renee stepped closer as some guys laughed. Renee proposed a 20% head start. "What happens when you waste it?" I asked, as her smile sharpened. Trust me, the guys in the room suddenly became intense feminists when she said I could not date anyone if she wins. Someone shouted to take the deal while others calculated 4 years of zero competition. I looked at Renee, asking if she wanted 4 years of control. She crossed her arms, asking if I was scared. "What do I get?" I asked. She thought about it, offering one unconditional forgiveness. I could do anything, and she would forgive me without asking why. That had wild potential. I held out my hand. A 20% advantage, 4 years of no dating, versus 1 free forgiveness. Renee shook my hand and wrote it on the board. Renee gets a 20% head start. Calvin loses, no dating. Renee loses, 1 free pass. The classmates quickly photographed the board before the professor could erase it. The bet stopped being a flirtation the moment witnesses saved the terms. Professor Madsen stared at our joined hands. He joked that we turned portfolio management into a custody dispute. I told him high stakes keep us focused, and he walked away. The classroom split instantly. Most guys backed Renee because blocking my dating life directly helped them. It is funny how principled guys get when another man's love life is on the line. But Kayla supported me so loudly, Renee was already regretting the bet. Kayla caught up with me by the school gate after class. Looking remarkably soft, she held out 2 park tickets, offering to go this Saturday with absolutely no pressure. In my past life, that exact patient smile had kept me buying her expensive gifts for months. This time, the game changes. After she saw the laptop, the condo rumors, and 3 women circling me, I returned a ticket. I am training this Saturday. Kayla gently grabs my sleeve. Next week then, I tell her, though I will still be busy. Kayla just tucks both tickets right back into her bag. She claims she is patient. The calculating gold digger has finally become the one doing the waiting. I step away, wishing her luck with the holding period. But she just smiles instead of backing down. The girl who used to make me wait is now stuck at the gate with 2 unused tickets. Man, that felt good. It also means these women are actually starting to compete for slots in my busy schedule. 3 days later, inside the computer lab, every student opens up the exact same test account. This first round comes with one single, simple rule: grow your account balance before Friday's cutoff. Most students spread their virtual money across 6 or 7 safe stocks. I dump every dollar into one neglected logistics company. The bar hits 100%, making a classmate behind me laugh. Diversification exists for a reason, I reply, and so does knowing when to sell. Professor Madsen stops right beside my screen. When he asks why that company, I point at the chart. Orders are climbing, panic crushed the price, and it rebounds before Friday. The orders and price are visible, but Friday's spike is my own secret memory. Renee leans over from the very next terminal. She asks if I put all of it in, and I tell her every single dollar. But right before lunch, the stock dips, and a classmate loudly announces my loss. He jeers that the genius is already bleeding. I leave my position untouched while Professor Madsen watches my screen. Renee watches my expression. All those guys who wanted me banned from dating are already celebrating a result that has not even finished moving yet. Just watch this. By the next morning, the price fully recovers, buyers flood in, and the chart climbs hard. That trash-talking classmate suddenly shuts his mouth. Renee studies my chart, then immediately buys the exact same stock with most of her virtual cash. The entire classroom groans, but Renee just smiles. She says the rules never banned copying, and honestly, they did not. She stole my exact play while keeping enough cash to protect her own back. She is smart, annoying, and attractive in the worst way. During lunch, Victoria waves me over to a table where Dominic Harrow is already sitting. Dominic is wearing a watch that could easily pay my old annual salary. He looks from my cheap shirt to the empty chair before I even sit down. Victoria points to the seat. Dominic asks if Calvin should sit and if I am the stock kid. As I sit, I call him the admirer doing background checks. Victoria takes a quick sip to hide her smile while Dominic leans back. Dominic claims he is just checking that Victoria is not wasting time on a lucky freshman. I ask him if she usually needs his approval. He says people around her must understand the difference between attention and access. There it is, high-class arrogance wearing expensive cologne. Victoria glances my way, asking if I am nervous about the rankings. Instead of replying, I just reach over and pat her on the head. I tell her to relax, since her guest is doing enough worrying for both of us. Victoria instantly freezes under my hand. Dominic's fork stops halfway to his mouth. The entire table instantly understands the challenge before anyone says a word. Victoria slowly removes my hand and calls me reckless. I reply that she invited the audience. Dominic's face hardens, warning me not to touch her. Victoria turns on him, snapping that she can speak for herself. This legacy peacock actually thought he could protect his territory. Just like that, Victoria strips his authority. I finish lunch while Dominic stays completely silent, as Victoria keeps talking only to me. By Friday, the provisional national rankings light up the lecture hall screen. Professor Madsen zooms in to show us the top 10. And there it is, my name sitting at number 7. The room goes silent before Kayla grabs my shoulder. Jillian literally screams my name. Suddenly, all those guys who backed Renee are checking if my dating ban has some kind of appeal process. Professor Madsen points at the screen. 7th nationally, the best provisional rank this entire campus has ever posted. Meanwhile, Renee just sits there. Looking at her account on the leaderboard, she copied my stock, sold right near the peak, and saved enough cash to escape the late market crash. Her 20% boost leaves her just 1.2% behind. Renee walks up and circles both our returns with the professor's marker. She warns me it is just 1.2%, and she is winning next round. I just lean back and tell her to catch me first. Suddenly, the guys who mocked my early dip stop treating Renee like some joke. Half the class crowds around her screen wanting answers, while the other half stays packed around mine. This bet has created 2 rival camps and one very public countdown. Renee locks eyes with me, saying I have not earned her forgiveness yet. I tell her she hasn't earned my celibacy. Jillian chokes on her drink, and though Renee smiles, she remains incredibly dangerous. Good. A weak rival would have killed this bet after just 1 round. Once the lecture hall clears out, Victoria appears outside with Dominic trailing behind. She double-checks the leaderboard, asking if I really placed 7th. I tell her the screen seems pretty confident. She walks beside me in silence, ignoring Dominic as he desperately asks where they are going. Victoria does not slow down, saying she is congratulating the person who actually earned something. The legacy peacock stopped in the hallway as Victoria walked away with me. Her background check was complete. By that afternoon, my face and provisional rank were plastered on screens across Crestview State. Someone turned my result into a massive spectacle. One poster labeled me the campus's best shot at a national finish, while another stretched my face across an entire wall. I figured whoever chose that giant spot wanted to embarrass me under pressure. Pretty petty work. Honestly, I respected the sheer ambition. Students kept stopping me for photos. Guys claimed my rank was temporary, while girls suddenly wanted investing advice. A random senior outside the cafeteria yelled that 7th place was just a participation trophy. 2 minutes later, his girlfriend asked me which stock she should buy. That shut him up fast. 7th place was only provisional. Still, the campus turned every hallway into a very public test. I traced the poster request through an email Professor Madsen showed me. The request actually came from a school board contact connected directly to the powerful Whitmore family. I immediately suspected Victoria, but I waited for her to confess. Just an hour later, the department director walked into my room. Cody barely hit his heavy hammer. The director suddenly offered me a private study room, travel funds, main campus research access, and an interview slot with national organizers. He even ordered Professor Madsen to clear my schedule before deadlines. The school that barely found me a dorm room suddenly rearranged classes around my account. Cody scrambled to throw his laundry off the good chair before the director sat down. Jordan quietly shut the hammer drawer. Victoria called while the director was standing right by my bed. Victoria asked if I was enjoying the attention. I put her on speaker and said the department just gave me a room and travel cash. I told her to thank her board contact. Dead silence. You just know she wanted to watch me break under all this pressure. I glanced at the director, Cody, and Jordan, then told her it only made them fund me. Cody covered his mouth immediately. She hung up right away. This high-class girl tried to tighten the leash with public pressure, but she ended up promoting me instead. What a beautiful mistake. Later that night, 2 urgent messages popped up within a single minute. Eliza texted me first. She said she was coming Saturday with her roommate Aubrey Sinclair to see me. The school goddess was finally walking onto my campus. Then Victoria messaged, saying her parents wanted the finance prodigy at dinner, warning me not to make her ask 3 times. The gorgeous girl I once chased was coming to meet the women already fighting over me. Meanwhile, Victoria's family decided my rank belonged at their table. On Friday night, Victoria called to explain why her parents wanted me there. Randall's stock account had taken a pretty heavy loss. He wanted a nationally ranked freshman to review his portfolio, while Victoria's mother, Diane Whitmore, wanted her to bring another classmate along. This family invitation smelled like money, matchmaking, and one very annoyed girl. Jordan had gone home Friday to escort his sister and her roommate back. I knew about his trip, but I had absolutely no clue his sister was Eliza. Saturday afternoon, Eliza stepped off the train with Aubrey Sinclair and stared directly at my new, system-rebuilt face. Aubrey was her close college roommate. She admitted she came to support Eliza and check if my massive campus posters were actually lying. Eliza stopped 3 feet away, staring. I smiled carefully, since my missing tooth still punished too much excitement. Eliza walked around me once, asking if I got taller. I joked that Rhett's family funded my development. She asked if I was still making that joke, and I told her I paid for lifetime rights. Aubrey teased that the poster missed my mouth. Eliza glared, while Aubrey raised her hands in defeat. Talk about a wild card with perfect timing. Right then, Jordan Keller stepped off that exact same train, carrying her bag. Jordan was my cautious roommate, and his errand made total sense a second later. We stared as Eliza looked between us. Eliza realized we knew each other. Jordan muttered that I literally sleep across from his bed. I pointed at him. You never said the goddess was your sister. Jordan's face tightened instantly. You never said you called my sister a goddess, he snapped back. Aubrey burst out laughing. Jordan grumbled that he heard every single campus story. When I asked which, he counted them. The hammer, the girls, the posters. Did you tell him? Of course she did. Jordan actually called the hospital right after Red attacked. Now he lived right across from my hammer, inspecting me like another problem. The universe loves comedy. Jordan raised his voice so the girls could hear, joking that his future brother-in-law has been busy. Eliza slapped his arm. My reluctant brother-in-law had officially entered the chat, and my peaceful weekend died on that train platform. Jordan carried our bags while I walked Eliza and Aubrey onto campus, glaring at any woman who even glanced my way. Crestew's ranking posters did all the talking for us. Aubrey paused by one showing I was ranked 7th nationally, making Eliza stare. She noted how much I had changed, her lack of anger making it feel heavy. I just said I am trying. A massive crowd blocked my poster inside the student lounge. Suddenly, some guy carrying drinks stumbled straight backward right into Eliza. She tripped, tumbling sideways. I reacted fast, catching her waist before she hit the ground. Just like that, the high school goddess was sitting on the former doormat's lap with everyone watching. Hey, it was a total accident. But of course, drama never stops. Right as Eliza stood, Kayla pushed through the crowded lounge. The calculated gold digger stopped cold, staring directly at my hands on Eliza's waist. She instantly demanded to know who this was. Eliza quickly introduced herself as an old school friend, making Kayla spin around to ask if she was my ex. Eliza corrected her, saying I just had a crush. Aubrey sipped her drink, clearly enjoying her front row seat to this disaster. Eliza clarified we were never together. When Kayla asked if I ever asked her out, Eliza glanced right at me. Eliza said several times, mocking my awful flirting. Aubrey laughed. Honestly, the old me totally deserved that burn. Kayla smirked, emphasizing it was in the past. Suddenly, Renee walked in. Seeing Eliza, Kayla, and my ranking poster, Renee's eyes turned sharp. The class monitor immediately pulled up an uninvited chair. Renee asked who was visiting. Kayla instantly called her my first love, but Eliza quickly corrected her. She said it was just a crush. Renee scanned Eliza up and down, asking if this was the famous school goddess. Renee scoffed, asking if my memories had exaggerated her curves. Eliza's smile vanished while Kayla practically glowed with joy. Aubrey set her cup down. The entire lounge went dead silent. Renee had just made this petty insult incredibly public. I dropped a line from an unpublished chapter Renee wrote under her secret pen name. Telling Renee to stop, I muttered that resorting to body shaming meant she already lost. Renee went pale, then flushed. Her eyes proved she recognized it, caught red-handed. Eliza watched Renee calmly. Renee actually looked down, apologizing for being rude. That sudden apology completely broke Kayla's mind. The strict class monitor never apologized, especially in front of a crowd. Around us, the other students leaned in. Kayla's cheap drama was totally ruined. Aubrey relaxed, while Eliza easily won the room without even raising her voice. Eliza accepted with a simple nod. Renee stood up, glaring at me and warning that we needed to talk later. I told her to get in line. Kayla tapped the table, agreeing there was one. Aubrey finally burst out laughing. The fight dissolved before any drinks were thrown. Kayla left, her phone already out to gossip. Renee walked out, her eyes glued to me. Aubrey and Jordan left to tour, leaving Eliza and me to walk toward the quiet library garden. Once the noise faded, she stopped near a bench and confessed she liked me back then. Keeping quiet, I listened as she explained I was hurt but still worried about Rhett hurting everyone else. She gripped her bag, mentioning her father saw it too, and added she wanted to try being together seriously. We could finish school, grow side by side, and build a real, stable life together. She was offering the dream I literally begged for in my past life, zero greed involved. I stayed silent, refusing to ruin it with a joke. I confessed she was my goddess for years, and part of me still wanted that exact future. Eliza waited silently. I admitted I am chasing money, revenge, and constantly lying to people I care about. I cannot promise a clean life while fighting this war. Eliza's eyes shone, holding my gaze as she stepped close. That hit harder than any confession. She said I did not have to be perfect, offering to build beside me. Knowing my dark ambition, she stayed. When she challenged me, I admitted I want her, but I am not ready to take her future. Eliza nodded, telling me not to make her wait forever. I hesitated. She walked back to Aubrey, leaving me alone. I asked for time, meaning she could spend it with anyone. That evening, Renee texted while I bought fruit for the Whitmore dinner, demanding to know where I got that line. I replied that her writing was good. She snapped back that it did not answer her question as she entered the shop. Renee crashed our dinner plans before Victoria could complain, immediately staring at my cheap fruit basket with absolute disgust. She mocked my cheap offering. I held up an orange, joking that it had a combat history. That orange was my cheapest asset. Renee scoffed and replaced it with an expensive gift box. Try not to embarrass me, she warns. Looking at her tight black dress, I reply she came prepared to handle it herself. Renee smiles. You noticed, she whispers. I tell her my eyesight is pretty sharp. She steps even closer. Is Victoria prettier? She asks. I reply that she has that wealthy look, everything about her is professionally funded. Renee's smile fades. I tell her she looks dangerous when she stops asking for approval. She smiles again, slower this time. Touching the fruit box, she mentions the dominant scenes. I ask what about them. She says I act like I understand controlling women. I lean in close. I understand women who challenge men because asking nicely would expose their true feelings. Renee holds my gaze. Then she drops another orange into the basket, teasing about customer loyalty. The class monitor volcano just stole my line. Gone. Honestly, I respect the theft. That evening, Renee and I bring fruit to the massive Whitmore mansion for a dinner. Victoria's mother, Diane, greets us right at the door. She is polite and composed, catching every single glance before Randall even finishes welcoming us. Randall grips my shoulder. The finance genius made it, he boasts, as Victoria walks down the stairs. He has a name, Dad, Victoria snaps. Randall waves us toward the dining room, telling her to sit by Calvin. Her eyes narrow, Diane guides Renee to the other side and seats me right between Victoria and Randall. No one explains their scheme. This matchmaking seating is painfully obvious. Dinner starts politely, but that barely lasts one glass of wine. Randall asks about my national rank. I explain my current standing, warning against celebrating one round too early. Then Diane asks if I am seeing anyone. Victoria snaps that I collect misunderstandings. Renee raises her glass, adding that I collect women too. I look between them. I brought fruit, but you both brought accusations, I joke. Randall laughs too loudly while Diane watches Victoria's face. Diane asks how Renee knows me. She replies that I am just an irritating classmate. Victoria corrects her, calling me an irritating investment risk. Randall just smiles like he just heard two glowing recommendations. You already know where this is going. The second glass completely wrecks their filter. Renee misses her coaster twice trying to set down her wine. Victoria laughs too hard, steals Renee's water, and nearly drops her fork onto the floor. Diane moves the wine bottle out of reach. Randall quickly switches to water. Renee points her fork directly at Victoria. Your dad thinks Calvin can redirect you, Victoria sneers. Renee leans in, saying her class thinks a dog collar redirected her. Men love pretending they control the leash. Victoria smiles until someone brings candles. Diane carries the candles over to the sideboard. Randall drinks his water, staring at me like I am his emergency contact. I tell them they are discussing some wild research right in front of their parents. Renee points at me, calling me worse than the novel's characters. Victoria nods. He charges interest on compliments. Diane looks at me, asking if I really do. Only when they pay late, I reply. Victoria's lips twitch. Renee kicks my shoe under the table, almost missing. Randall looks at me. Calvin, are they always like this? He asks. I reply that I am getting the premium package tonight. That gets a laugh from Diane. Renee raises her glass again, joking that they haven't even discussed the whips yet. Randall literally chokes on his water. Diane closes her eyes. Just a second. Then she looks at me like this is my department. After dinner, Randall pulls me into his study while Diane keeps the girls downstairs. He's had enough to drink to get straight to the point. Calvin, become my son-in-law, Randall says. I stare. He opens a drawer, sliding a $500,000 check over. This is a management advance, Randall explains. The main investment capital remains ours. You get an agreed share of the profit. The check sits between us. Randall watches my face, then pushes it even closer to me. Manage the account and help Victoria, he says. Meanwhile, through the study door, Victoria and Renee are loudly arguing over who insulted men first. Diane watches them with the total calm of a mother updating her family emergency plan. That massive number is enough to make my pulse jump. I take the account, because honestly, who would turn down that kind of cash? Still, it ties my reputation to a family that thinks every single look means marriage. Randall claps my shoulder, calling me a good man. The dad speedrunning this wedding just upgraded from a simple invitation to straight capital. After midnight, the campus gates are locked. Renee can barely even walk, so I carry her toward the nearest hotel while two students at the gate watch a new rumor pass by. In the room, Renee grabs my shirt, mumbling that I quoted her line. I tell her she needs water. She leans in, knocks a glass of wine across the bed, and vomits right down my shirt. Romance immediately runs for the emergency exit. I lay Renee on the clean side, crash in the chair, leave a note. Nothing happened. Spilled wine. Ruined shirt. Lost to her own stomach. Before breakfast, my super sim starts ringing. I answered her call from the lobby using a voice filter. Renee instantly demanded to know where I was, asking if I was home while paper rustled on her end. She had clearly found my note. Her voice dropped to a low whisper, but the filter kept my identity safe. By noon, Kayla was gossiping about us. That afternoon, Renee cornered me right outside of class. She admitted that the red stain terrified her before she found my note, which she called smug. I joked that she had assaulted my poor shirt. She blocked me, so I blocked her right back. An hour later, the block remained. The next morning, after surviving the panic, I signed up for serious training. The live phase of the finance competition was coming up fast. My body was in better shape now, but I wanted real strength, not just numbers on a system screen. The old training patterns felt totally natural. Kayla used to take my gifts while keeping me anxious and useful. Jillian ignored the old me until my looks and status changed, and Renee bullied me because weak Calvin was an easy target. They took my kindness as permission. But watch this, because the next person who steps on me gets stepped on. I tightened my hand wraps and pushed myself harder. Randall's check officially tied my new life directly to Victoria's powerful family. When Victoria called me a dog next, she brought a leash and a heavy price. On Friday night, I treated my classmates using my first big competition bonus, while Randall's $500,000 check sat untouched in my account. Victoria's family wealth was already altering how everyone viewed me, leaving one simple, burning question. What would Victoria demand in return? But first, I had a dinner party to ruin with a very chaotic guest list. Renee rejected me within 10 seconds, texting that she was completely busy. I threatened to read chapter 12 of her book aloud to the table, and Renee suddenly arrived before the appetizers could even be served. The angry class monitor slammed into the empty seat beside me, accusing me of blackmailing an author I claim not to know. I calmly handed her the menu, claiming I was just supporting local literature, so she violently kicked my ankle. Honestly, Renee wore a stunning, tight red dress to a casual dinner. That dress declared war before she even sat down. Cody laughed, raising a glass to our first sister-in-law arriving, while Kayla pointed at herself. Jillian egged Cody on, wanting to watch me suffer, while our loudmouth friend kept talking with absolutely zero survival instinct. I tapped my glass to stop him, telling everyone that my trading challenge had paid out a decent bonus. Since you helped me survive the early rounds, tonight is on me. More food arrived. Kayla stopped acting polite and dug in. Jillian stole from my plate, and Renee dragged her chair even closer to me. Everyone behaved for nearly 4 minutes before I dropped a bomb, announcing that the main campus wanted me full-time. I might transfer. Renee froze mid-drink, Kayla asked when, and Jillian frowned. They complained I just arrived, and Renee insisted I could not transfer mid-term. I let them squirm before smiling. True, the window is closed, but Matson offered exclusive research. Renee glared as she realized it was all a prank. I nodded, quite pleased. Renee leaned forward, demanding to know what happened to our wager. She stopped before saying novel, so I mocked her about the book. She chucked a bread roll straight at my chest. It bounced into Cody's soup, and he fished it out with his spoon. Cody joked about the domestic violence as Renee pointed at me, threatening to throw me through a window next time. My fake announcement lasted only 20 seconds, but it proved Renee absolutely hated the thought of me leaving. I loved her reaction more than my cash bonus. Cody grabbed her buzzing phone, asking which sister-in-law was texting. She slapped him away, her screen lighting up with a message from Victoria Whitmore. Victoria asked for class notes, wanting to know if Renee was on campus. Renee lied, claiming she was in her room. But Cody had already taken a group photo, peeking over Renee's shoulder to catch Victoria's name on the screen. Cody immediately invited the rich sister-in-law, sending Victoria the group photo despite Renee shouting at him to stop. Now check this out, Cody could turn any minor button into a disaster. Sure enough, 10 minutes later, Victoria walked in. She wore a beautiful white coat over a black dress, carrying a thin family account statement in her hand. The room fell completely silent as the heiress holding my leash walked over, comparing Renee to the photo on her phone. Victoria mocked her dorm, but Renee snapped her plans had changed. Victoria dropped the account statement right by my plate, showing her mother had authorized my access to their funds earlier that evening. My name was officially listed next to the massive account they wanted me to manage. Kayla immediately senses the rising tension and slides her drink away. Jillian quickly pulls out another chair. We clearly ordered way too much food. I wave the server over to set another plate. You are inviting me? Victoria asks, shocked. You walked across the whole town carrying papers. You deserve dessert. Cody raises his glass, welcoming the second sister-in-law. Victoria blinks, asking what he means by second. Cody points at Renee. Renee points at me. And I blame Calvin. Cody is a total mess. I am just managing his symptoms. That move slides Renee's chair another inch closer, trapping me between both women. Renee leans in, asking Victoria if Cody's text brought her here. Victoria opens the menu, calmly stating she came because Calvin's name is listed under her family account. Dead silence. I raise a toast to modern friendship, which apparently requires bank statements now. Surprisingly, Victoria stays and eats instead of screaming. Her quiet control actually worries me. Dinner ends, and I immediately stand to pay. Victoria stands up with me, grabbing my arm before I even reach the corner. The streetlights are bright enough for the restaurant to see us. Cody instantly glues his face to the glass. Victoria holds up a brand new statement. Her dad just paid me $500,000. I call it a management advance. Her mouth tightens, accusing me of taking cash from her family while plotting their future. Wait, what did she say? She actually calls him her father's hired dog. Talk about brutal. That word cuts deep into the same old scar. Rich people see a handout and immediately think they own your soul. I keep my cool. Dogs need food, but you came with terms. She taps open a second screen. Her trust, shares, and cars total nearly $20 million. But only a fraction of that is ready cash right now. That is plenty to start. The rest is just leverage for later. Then, Victoria lists her demands. I must answer her calls, show up at family dinners, manage accounts, and stay completely away from Renee. I ask if that is all. She adds that we must play the happy couple publicly. That stops her parents from panicking, and Yuki gets us funding. I look back toward the dinner table. Cody, Kayla, Jillian, and Renee are doing a terrible job pretending to ignore us. Victoria offers to let me manage $1 million. I laugh out loud. When she asks what is funny, I list everything she wants. My schedule, dating life, reputation. $1 million barely covers the trouble. Victoria asks if I am actually negotiating. No, I'm rejecting a cheap leash. Her jaw drops. You already work for my father. I step in closer. Your dad paid for my skills. You were trying to buy a boyfriend. Her eyes flash with anger. It is fake, she snaps. I count her rules: constant phone calls, family dinners, and asking permission to see other women. That is just dating with terrible branding. Victoria whispers, asking if I really think she wants me. I point out she walked across town in that dress just to corner me. For a split second, her eyes drop to my lips. I caught it. She snaps back, prove it. Suddenly, the group walks outside. Cody stands by the door, keeping his phone low. Renee is right behind him, staring at the lipstick in my hand. I grab Victoria's wrist and pull her close. Last chance, I warn. But Victoria just raises her chin high. She dares me, thinking I will back down. Big mistake. I wrap my hand around her waist and kiss her right there. Oh, watch this. Victoria completely freezes up, but then her fingers start clutching his shirt. I break the kiss before Cody can plan a wedding. Victoria just stares at me with totally smeared lipstick. Her shock fades into a locked jaw as she glares at the crowd. She raises a hand, and Cody raises his phone. Victoria notices the crowd and drops her arm. She whispers that was her first kiss. I remind her it was in the contract. She shoves my chest, calling me unbelievable. I smile, raise the account. Victoria looks ready to murder me with her purse. Instead, she demands $11 million starting Monday. This hired dog just broke the leash, kissed the beautiful heiress, and turned a threat into an $11 million deal. Absolutely insane. Back inside, Renee notices Victoria's messy lipstick and walks straight over to us. Renee pinches Victoria's chin between two fingers, asking what happened. Victoria pulls away and tells her to ask Calvin. Renee looks at Victoria's lips, then directly at mine. You kissed her, she says. I do not deny it. I explain the fake relationship needed proof. Renee's smile turns dangerously calm as she notes proof creates relationships now. Victoria agrees. Renee turns, stating their rumor deserves some documentation too. Renee suddenly grabs Victoria by the shoulders and plants a quick, public kiss on her lips. Victoria recoils in shock. Cody drops his fork, and Kayla gasps. Jillian mutters that this dinner is practically never-ending, while Renee casually wipes a smudge of lipstick off Victoria's face with her thumb. Renee smiles there. Now the evidence is gone. Victoria whispers that she is completely insane, but Renee just points right at me. She blames me, so I sarcastically praise their amazing teamwork, saying the family will love the update. Meanwhile, Cody already leaked it to the dorm chat. By midnight, the wild rumors reach Victoria's family. Her mother, Diane, immediately texts her 3 question marks. Her dad, Randall, rings me once before hanging up. Roadblock. The man trying to speedrun our wedding just got stopped. Later at the gym, I message Eliza to pay back that dinner I owe her, suggesting Tuesday evening. Aubrey jumps into the group chat first to claim she is free, and Eliza quickly follows up, suggesting a group hangout instead. I read those texts twice. The old me would have taken one fast reply as a literal marriage proposal. Luckily, I cured that mental glitch. Aubrey's sudden interruption completely threw off Eliza's original invitation. I already have too many girls fighting over me, so I let it go. Right then, my burner account blinks active. Velvet Cucumber texts that Victoria kissed her. She kissed back, and I watched. When she claims she is furious, I tell her she is avoiding her real target. She dismisses it as fake psychology. Come on, we all know she is just terrified of the truth. I tell her to spend 1 hour alone with him. She asks where, and I say somewhere she cannot hide behind her class monitor title. 5 minutes later, Renee texts my real phone, ordering me to meet her outside the library. Around 11, she is standing under the streetlights in a long, dark coat. Her temper definitely survived the trip. Blocking my path, she asks if I think kissing Victoria makes me brave. I point out she did it too as retaliation. She steps closer, demanding why I pretend to know exactly what she wants. So, I ask her. Tell me then, I say. She locks eyes with me, asking if I would go to a hotel with her. I just smile. I ask if she would actually step inside. Flustered, she tells me to name the place, so I suggest the terrifying presidential suite. She scoffs, demanding I send the address. But before I can reply, Victoria's car suddenly speeds off across campus. Renee spots it, claiming she is meeting me. I wave my hands, I am right here. Renee ignores the obvious proof and tails her anyway. Victoria only drove home because her mother was sick, which Renee learns at their front door. I find out what happened when Victoria calls me from her foyer and immediately puts the call on speaker. Victoria snaps that my class monitor followed her all the way home, thinking we had a secret hookup. Renee cuts in right beside her. Renee argues that Victoria left after midnight right when she asked me for a hotel room. What else was she supposed to think? Victoria snaps that her mother is sick. Instantly, Renee's anger melts, and she asks if Diane is all right. Victoria calms down and says she will be, but then she immediately stirs the drama pot right back up. She accuses Renee of chasing her fake boyfriend. Renee fires back, calling out how Victoria uses her family wealth just to keep me around. Victoria demands that I say something, mocking us both for chasing the wrong person tonight. She claims to be highly impressed. Renee completely ignores me. I am not giving him up, she fires back. Victoria declares she won't either. The gloves are finally off, yet their friendship survives. Victoria then tells me Renee is staying over. She is keeping Renee far away from my hotel dare. Despite Renee's angry protests, Victoria abruptly hangs up. A minute later, Renee secretly texts me to send the address for the presidential suite tomorrow. I simply tell her to stay home. She calls me a coward, and I love it. Her massive pride will do the rest. At 10 the next night, I booked the presidential suite at the luxurious Meridian Grand Hotel. It is the high-end spot near campus where I usually stay. Since there is no annual rate yet, I still pay night by night. I send over the room number with a single warning to stay home if she is just trying to prove a point. She demands I open the door. The class monitor has already reached the elevator. Once I pay the suite fee, the spending system chimes with a brand new themed reward. I unlock a reimbursement card that refunds 80% of eligible hotel charges. Points only build up on my actual out-of-pocket expenses, which will make future luxury hotel stays incredibly cheap. First, I have to survive the gorgeous girl heading my way. Renee knocks once, wearing a stunning black dress under her coat. Her beautiful hair is down, and she looks like she spent the entire elevator ride practicing how to stay calm. In my defense, I notice the dress first. She walks past me, shocked I actually rented the entire suite. I shut the door. She wanted courage. Turns out it comes with room service. Renee paced through the massive living room, brushing her fingers against the marble bar. This presidential suite was absolutely stacked, featuring floor-to-ceiling windows and enough luxury to make anyone look extremely suspicious. Renee slowly turned around. How much did this place actually cost? She asked. I told her she came for business. But me? I came to teach Victoria a quick lesson in romance. Renee told me to call her. Sitting back on the sofa, I asked what my reward was, making her eyes narrow. She snapped that I sent the room number anyway. I just nodded, enjoying every single second of her frustration. Looking up at her, I pointed out she wore that stunning dress to a hotel. Let us respect the evidence. Before she could reply, a room service knock interrupted us. The attendant walked in, saw her towering over me, and quietly placed down 2 champagne glasses. The worker asked if Mr. and Mrs. Archer wanted breakfast at 8, making her face turn completely red. I went to speak, but Renee immediately cut in and blurted out 9, leaving me staring at my new wife. Renee pointed to the door, arguing that the worker assumed it while I was the one who confirmed it. I admitted I was just enjoying the ride. That is when Renee snatched my phone, telling me to text Victoria. She wants a public exclusive, but our boy Calvin is charging a heavy premium. Honestly, would you expect any less from him? Renee leaned in close, promising me whatever I wanted if I just told Victoria I chose her instead. Her confidence wavered. Not surprising, considering she has a history of causing absolute chaos. Renee suddenly grabbed my face and kissed me hard enough to end the banter. Pulling back, she called it a deposit, which I called a pretty dangerous payment method. She stepped closer, placing herself right in my space, and asked what I actually wanted from her. I wanted a real choice with no tricks or games. The entire atmosphere shifted instantly as I asked if she was here by choice. She held my gaze and whispered yes. I asked if she was sober, and if she wanted me to stop. She murmured no, grabbed my shirt, and kissed me. It was aggressive, wild, and completely on brand for her. I stood up and pulled her into my chest. She kissed me again, slower, but I paused at the bedroom door. She gently touched my hand, telling me to lock the door. Right then, the sweet lights dimmed down. Everything else remained behind closed doors. Later, she sat beside me in a hotel robe, showing a faint red mark on her wrist from the prop cuffs. Spotting my gaze, she quickly pulled her sleeve over the mark and casually leaned back against the sofa. Renee mentioned she could tolerate being fourth, ranking herself behind Eliza, Victoria, and the other girls my ego recruited. I laughed at her ranking her own place in my dating life, but she insisted fourth place could still win. She basically turned love into a business portfolio, demanding I brag to Victoria about us spending the night together. I immediately refused, making her pout. She argued that I kissed Victoria publicly, so she wanted the same. She claimed that was tactical, so I fired back that mine was too, earning me a pillow to the face. These two just crossed a major line, and yet, they are already back to bickering. Classic power couple dynamic. By breakfast, she was wearing long sleeves and a freezing expression. The room service returned at 9 with our food. She stared at the card addressed to Mr. and Mrs. Archer before flipping it over, refusing to look at it. She claimed she was keeping evidence of hotel incompetence, then left without saying goodbye. Before the elevator closed, she muttered that last night changed nothing, but I reminded her about that breakfast confirmation. Back at the dorms, Renee had blocked my number again. Cody greeted me at the entrance with both hands raised. A photo of Renee entering the hotel lobby had leaked overnight, and Cody leaked it right to the group chat. Cody admitted he thought it was hilarious. Jordan stepped in as I put my bag down, answering my question. Jordan said enough had seen it. I opened my drawer. A panicked Cody promised to delete it. The hammer is retired, but deleting the photo did not stop the rumor mill. Now, everyone believed Renee stayed with me in a presidential suite I rented on a whim. With my fake relationship with Victoria, this rumor looked like a direct declaration of war. That weekend, Alden Trower introduced me to a high-stakes money game. Alden understood the campus hierarchy and valued utility over loud mouths. Travis Calderon sat nearby, aiming to reclaim some dignity after his total failure in my room. He wanted to prove my wealth was fake. So, he shoved his buy-in forward. Travis scoffed, questioning what was real. I took my seat, telling him to put his cash down and pick. I threw in my ante, letting my acquired gambling skills take over as the first hand stayed small. Every time Travis lied, he rubbed his watch. Calvin caught the tell twice. On the final hand, Travis pushed $3,000 right into the middle. Travis dared him to call. Let us see if rankings work without Professor Madsen. Calvin calmly called. Travis showed ace high. Calvin had 2 pair. Game over. The dealer stopped smiling while a spectator grabbed his cash. Alden shoved the pot to Calvin. Pay him. Travis just stared as Calvin shrugged and called it a lucky hand. Lucky people do not need a tell, Travis growled, releasing his watch. Outside, Alden warned him that the seniors would keep asking about his family and Victoria. Calvin told him to let them pry. Those rich seniors hate answers that make them feel small. That night, Velvet Cucumber reached out through their only open channel. She texted that she slept with some demigod. He thinks he won, she wrote. Did he? Calvin asked. He only won one night. This relationship is war. Renee then listed her next brutal moves. Train, study, earn more, then return strong enough to control me. Calvin told her to unblock him, but she wanted him to suffer. Checked his phone. Still blocked. You have to respect her dedication. The following week, Calvin asked Alden to set up training rings in the gym. In exchange, he offered his frequently rented luxury suites. Frequently, Alden asked in disbelief. Calvin just smiled, saying he booked it for the whole year. Alden inspected the ceiling, promising the rings go up tomorrow. Right then, Victoria walked in wearing indoor shades with movie tickets. She demanded good news on her father's account. Calvin assured her it looked great and he needed to show Randall. Victoria waved the tickets. Movie first. Fake boyfriends require maintenance, she teased while Alden stared. Victoria hooked her finger into Calvin's gym bag, asking him to come. Calvin told Alden his sponsor scheduled recreation. Victoria warned she would charge interest if he kept calling her sponsor. Observing them, Alden realized this looked way too real. 3 weeks later, Victoria turned their movie date into a massive photo shoot, then dragged Calvin out to a fancy dinner. She wore a beautiful cream coat. Absolutely stunning. Calvin froze when she suddenly linked her arm through his. A bright flash suddenly goes off across the street. Just like that, the photographer lowers his camera and runs. Victoria was completely unfazed. She simply adjusted Calvin's collar while smiling toward the fleeing photographer. Calvin asked if this was all public relations. Victoria countered that he did agree to provide proof, basically admitting it. At the Whitmore mansion, Victoria's very sharp mother, Diane, met them, immediately spotting their locked arms and asking if the movie was good. Victoria called it average. Sharp eye. Diane's gaze immediately went to Victoria's slightly altered lipstick. The lipstick detective missed nothing. Inside the living room, Diane sat them together on the same sofa, serving one plate with 2 forks. Victoria complained about the single plate, but her mother smiled, saying they survived the movie. Calvin took the first bite, but Victoria instantly stole the next, gently wiping a dot of cream from his lip. She joked that fake girlfriends handle portion control. Calvin retorted that her dad paid enough for him to buy his own plate. But before Calvin could even wave down a server, Victoria leaned in close and kissed him. Diane left smiling like she closed a deal. Victoria whispered that Renee claimed she spent the night with him. Calvin denied it. Renee just gets dramatic when mad, adding that Alden saw him in the senior rooms all weekend. It was a pretty weak excuse, but Victoria let it slide. Turns out, she might just be stalling the inevitable. Calvin showed her the threatening texts 2 Money Game seniors had passed along through other students. He warned her that these public photos made desperate guys think they could win her over by threatening him. Victoria quietly read them twice. Her teasing mood vanished completely. Entitled people get dangerous when they lose, Calvin warned as she asked if they were a threat. At dinner, Randall opened the financial update. Seeing that Calvin had recovered a huge chunk of his previous losses, his eyes widened. Randall finally stopped the awkward relationship questions to stare silently at the profit. Suddenly, Randall unbuckled his luxury watch and slid it next to Calvin's plate, telling him to keep it as a status symbol. Victoria gasped in shock, but Randall shrugged it off, saying Calvin earned it. This dad was speedrunning the wedding, moving from writing checks to putting his luxury watch on Calvin's wrist, while Victoria watched in disbelief. Before dessert, Victoria leaned over and kissed his cheek for her parents to see, whispering that it was just more maintenance. Calvin joked that her service plan was getting costly. Later that night, she posted their movie date photo alongside a picture of Calvin with Randall. Calvin's phone buzzed. Warning. Alden texted that 3 hostile seniors just got their hands on his dorm key. They are coming at 11 tomorrow night. Do not go in blind. At 10:45 Friday, Calvin returned to find his key gone. Alden warned me they would strike at 11. Victoria's new photo showed me right next to Randall Whitmore, wearing the watch he gave me. According to Alden, Travis Calderon viewed this as proof I had stolen Victoria away from him. Travis was a jealous senior I beat at cards, and now he had recruited 2 buddies. They swiped my dorm key without asking, and planned a little group ambush real social guys. Luckily, I already reported the missing key to our supervisor. I asked the guy to patrol the hall after 11, claiming I was testing room safety. His footsteps would definitely rattle the intruders. But my trap had to work without his help. My bag was packed with fake blood, rubber intestines, and a white sheet I grabbed from a costume shop. High above the center of my room hung the gymnastic rings Alden put up. I kept the hammer put away. Their own imagination would do the heavy lifting. After flipping off the lights, I secured my harness to the rings and hid the straps under the sheet. From the door, I looked completely lifeless. At 10:59, metal scraped inside the lock. Travis crept in first, followed closely by another senior. A third guy squeezed inside and shut the door. Travis was holding my stolen key right between his fingers. They wanted to terrify me so I would stop acting like Victoria was mine. The second senior shrugged, telling them to record my apology. The third senior glanced at my desk, warning them about my hammer. The other shrugged, saying I was just one freshman. 3 against 1. They arrived with a petty grudge, a camera, and an unfair fight. They earned the nightmare waiting in the dark. Suddenly, Travis froze, spotting a pale, white figure hanging right before him. The third senior raised his light. The beam found my shoes hovering above the floor. Dead silence for 2 seconds. The second senior finally whispered my name. I slowly rotated my foot, and the third guy screamed bloody murder. Travis stumbled backward, hitting the desk. The second senior frantically clawed at the doorknob, missing it twice in pure panic. Think about it, 3 grown men came to jump me, and a simple bedsheet reduced them to shivering wrecks. I slowly lowered my head. I softly asked why they had come. Travis made a high-pitched whimper I never expected from someone with that much confidence. The second senior reached out but froze when my sheet shifted. The third senior frantically whispered that they needed to call someone. Travis snapped, telling them to shut up because they were never here. Amazing, the thief already jumped to a cover-up before even checking my pulse. They rushed the door, but the third senior stepped right on my prop bag. Fake rubber intestines squished across the floor in sticky red syrup. He stared at the bloody mess on his shoe and threw up right next to Cody's desk. He screamed that I was dead, right as I dropped down behind them. I told him I was also pretty tired. All 3 spun around. The sheet fell from my shoulders, revealing the fake blood covering my shirt. Under the light, the props were obviously cheap rubber. Travis still cowered against the door while the second senior raised his hands. He muttered that this was insane. I replied they stole my key at 11 to jump me. Travis had no good comeback. The third senior wiped his mouth, saying they thought this would be easy. I just pointed at the messy floor and said, "Clean it." Gaping in shock, Travis asked if they had to clean. I just slid open the hammer drawer. Travis grabbed paper towels, the second senior grabbed a mop, and the third senior packed up the rubber intestines while desperately looking away. Alden showed up 5 minutes later. He took one look at the open door and joked he wanted to make sure my prank did not leave a real corpse. Instead, he found 3 senior attackers scrubbing my floor while I sat on my bed, quietly reading. Looking at Travis, Alden asked if he lost a bet. Travis just mopped. 5 minutes ago, Travis held my key like a trophy. Now, look at him holding Cody's trash bag while his buddy mops the floor. Alden waited patiently. The dorm supervisor's footsteps passed outside at 11:10. Travis froze instantly, holding the mop in his hands. I stayed completely quiet. The footsteps faded away, and Travis kept mopping. Then, Alden reminded them they broke in with a stolen key. It was my call if this ended here. I looked at them, returned the key, and replaced Cody's ruined rug. And stay out of my room. Travis placed the key on my desk, and the other paid for the rug before they scrambled out. The third senior could not look me in the eye. After they left, I found the supervisor out in the hallway. Speaking to the supervisor, I reported 3 unauthorized seniors used my missing key and damaged the rug. He logged the late entry. My report kept the fake corpse part a secret. Afterward, Alden stared at the rings, noting they were for training. I joked about cross-training, making him laugh, but the rough sheet had left a nasty red mark around my neck. After snapping a quick photo, I sent it to Victoria, writing that her admirers tried to strangle me. It looked incredibly real. Next morning, Victoria burst right into my suite at the Meridian Grand, utterly panicked by that redneck photo. Victoria had rushed across town without even brushing her hair. Her coat hung open, and she grabbed my shoulders before the door even closed. She frantically asked who did it. I pulled down my collar, showing her the faint rope mark, and calmly confessed that I did, telling her that her jealous fan club gave me the perfect excuse. Victoria stared, looking at the red mark, the clean room, and the prop bag. She asked if I knew they were coming. Alden warned me. Her post gave them the perfect motive, so Victoria whipped out her phone and deleted it right there in front of me. Then she shoved my chest with both hands, crying that I made her think they hanged me. I grabbed her wrist, reminding her she caused this mess. She argued that did not justify a fake suicide photo. I agreed, but mine worked beautifully. She tried to pull away. I pulled her over my knee, gave her coat a quick, playful swat, and let her sit up immediately. She hard slapped my shoulder. Calling me a bargain psycho, she went to speak, but I kissed her first. She kissed back, then pushed me away. Victoria called me impossible. I said injured people need comfort, and she looked at the mark. Pointing out I was not hurt, she watched me touch the mark and claim emotional damage. She almost laughed, finally relaxing. Then I laid out the financial numbers. The campus dorms were a mess of late-night fights, locked gates, and stranded students with nowhere to go. Get this, I argued a student hotel near campus could pull in $300,000 monthly. It was an aggressive forecast, but the constant nightly chaos made it realistic enough to test. I asked Victoria for $1.5 million. She paced the suite, disbelieving I staged a death last night and now wanted her cash. I called the order efficient. Victoria stared at my projections, then looked back at my neck. She asked if her admirers inspired my pitch. I called it monetizing customer research. Victoria tapped the paper. I suggested 12 million makes us partners, but she leaned back, saying she had enough labels. 2 million, I countered. Victoria insisted she wanted real income and did not want her parents involved in another wedding. We are accomplices, she said. Partners share profit and evidence, pointing right at the picture of my neck. She had increased my request and rejected the partnership in one move. Girls once made me pay for their attention. Now Victoria Whitmore was raising her own offer. I held out my hand, proposing $2 million as accomplices. Victoria shook on it, leaving after stealing one more kiss and warning me never to send another fake death photo. I slept in, and by the time I woke up, the $2 million transfer had already cleared. That massive number sat on my screen like a direct dare. Alden called before I could even process it. He said Travis confessed that the watch belonged to Randall Whitmore, and nobody broke could rent the presidential suite here. After that, nobody in the dorm called me a broke freshman again. I told Alden that confusion is better than confidence. 2 days after Victoria's transfer cleared, I met Hotel Vice President Laura Crowley inside that very presidential suite. Laura handled long-term deals for the hotel. She slid over the expensive annual rate, expecting a simple college student to fold. I left the paper untouched, pointing out the suite sits empty most weekdays. I offered a year of guaranteed occupancy instead. Laura folded her hands, claiming their premium rooms protected the hotel brand. I slapped Victoria's $2 million deposit down, saying an empty room protects nothing. Her entire posture changed immediately. Laura tried one final bluff, claiming they had other clients. I stood up and grabbed my folder, telling her they can pay tonight. Nobody called. Laura quickly accepted the contract, dropping the annual price to $5.75 million. Using my 80% reimbursement card, my final out-of-pocket cost was only $1,150,000. Though points only credited on actual cash, Laura's tone flipped before the receipt finished printing. She formally welcomed me, saying the suite was mine for a year and offering lifetime VIP treatment at the Grand. She handed over the gold keycard with both hands, leaving the massive original rate sheet on the table. That weekend, those same arrogant college seniors walked into my suite through doors the staff opened for me. I invited Alden, Cody, my 3 embarrassed attackers, and their friends. A hotel manager eagerly greeted me at the elevator. He welcomed me back, saying dinner was ready. Travis flinched hearing that prestigious title. The second attacker watched the manager take my coat in awe. Cody stared at the dining room like a movie set. Gourmet food covered the table. Staff poured drinks, remembering all my personal preferences. You won't believe their faces. Cody saw the private office and whispered, while an attacker's girlfriend asked if I actually lived here. Travis answered before I could, admitting I had it for the year. Instantly, the entire table turned toward him. He stared down at his plate. The exact same guys who called me poor 2 days ago literally waited for me to sit first. Travis cleared his throat about the dorm incident. I stared right back. He muttered that they definitely crossed a line. The second guy chimed in, saying the key was a huge mistake. Cody whispered to Alden, "The fake corpse got a full apology dinner." Alden responded that the fake corpse owns the room now. I let both attackers apologize properly, giving them food instead of a lecture. Their friends saw Randall's expensive watch, my yearly keycard, and the VIP staff treatment. By dessert, nobody believed I was faking having serious cash. Then, a massive campus-wide email arrived mid-dinner. It detailed the illegal entry and that broken door lock the supervisor reported. Crestview set an 11 p.m. curfew, destroying the seniors' profitable card games and wild parties. Travis read the warning twice in utter disbelief. Did Victoria's family pull the strings here? I took a quiet sip and kept my mouth shut. Alden glanced around. Our usual spots locked down at 11. I slid the extra master key across the wood, stopping it right under my finger. My room, my rules. No stolen keys. No cheap ambushes. You break it, you pay. They exchanged looks. Alden asked what approval would cost. I pointed at the bill. Bring high-paying guests and keep things spotless. If anyone steals a card, Travis runs cleanup. Travis stared down at his plate. Cody lost it laughing and literally walked away. Their sudden punishment killed their old hangout, and my suite became the new hotspot. But then, Alden dropped a whole new issue right by my plate, saying Seth Driscoll wants an official fight. He is the absolute strongest senior in their group, and Travis wants to salvage their bruised pride. Right then, Victoria texted me that her dad set up dinner with big investors, so I better dress sharp. Honestly, check out this twist. The guys I terrified out of my dorm suddenly decided they wanted one clean, official match instead. That clean part lasted about 30 seconds. Before our first party at the Meridian Pool even ended, I racked up 2 massive problems. Alden kept pressuring me to battle Seth Driscoll, the undisputed powerhouse of their senior circle. Meanwhile, Victoria needed me completely sober and sharp for her dad's business dinner. Naturally, the fight drama came calling first. Enter Damon Thorne, an incredibly arrogant upperclassman wearing pricey trunks who genuinely believed women existed just to tolerate him. He was seconds away from making a massive mistake in the storage hallway. Our pool party felt like a total victory lap with top-tier service. Alden's crowd stopped treating my VIP suite key like some myth. Even Travis made sure to keep his hands totally to himself. Talk about progress. Monica, a stunning senior from their group, walked up to us. She carried herself like she belonged around wealth. Her sleek black swimsuit had several guys completely zoning out near the pool. To be fair, I actually remembered my manners. Monica sat right next to me and casually picked up my drink. She teased if guests were allowed to steal, so I grabbed it back, telling her she can just steal Alden's instead. Alden yelled over from his chair to leave him out of our flirting budget. The senior broker was catching on fast. But my chaotic life always charged high interest. Most of these wealthy seniors were forced together by pure family pressure. Monica gestured toward Damon, complaining that their families keep pushing them together because their social status matches. She rolled her eyes. Damon glared as Monica laughed, his jaw clenching every single time she looked at me. He had been lurking all day. Monica actively dodged him twice already. Rejecting him twice only made him look for a much more isolated spot. When Monica stood up to grab a fresh towel, Damon suddenly grabbed her wrist near the hallway. I watched her pull back. Damon leaned in close, telling her to stop embarrassing him. Monica struggled to break free, but he forced her inside a storage room. Now watch this. The door is barely closing before I slam my foot right in the gap. Damon had Monica cornered against the wall, blocking her escape completely. She was furious. I shoved the heavy door wide open. I told him she said to let go. Damon snapped back that it was private, but Monica yelled she was trying to leave. I stepped right between them and locked onto Damon's wrist. He stubbornly tried to hold his ground. I violently peeled his fingers back, twisted his thumb, and slammed him into the steel shelves, completely knocking the wind out of him. A pile of towels crashed over him. Monica slipped right past to the door while I kept my eyes locked on Damon. I told Monica to head back to the party, and she did. Damon snarled, asking if my fancy suite made me untouchable. I looked him dead in the eyes and told him no, but his weak wrist certainly made him touchable. Damon tensed up like he actually wanted to throw down. I raised one hand, warning him that another step meant a very public beatdown. People were already crowding the hall. Damon took one look at the crowd, and his tough guy act completely evaporated. He pointed right at me. Seth will handle you. Bring him. You clearly need help. Damon stormed out through the door, completely ignoring Monica as he walked past. She waited until he reached the pool. Then she gently touched my arm. When I asked if she wanted to leave, Monica shook her head. She wanted him to watch her stay. She sat right back next to me. That bold move instantly flipped the vibe of the entire party. As Monica laughed with Alden and me, Damon sat alone. Look at his friends, they completely stopped obeying his angry commands. Two girls even moved their bags away from him. He tried to isolate us, but only created witnesses and a brand new enemy. Simply beautiful. I hosted dinner in our suite that night. Fear is great for securing repeat business. The guests praised the dinner, the staff, and the suite. Monica told them everything in one single sentence. Damon lost all social credit before dessert. I bought high-end wine for Alden's crew, triggering my system. Skill unlocked alcohol resistance. The rule was incredibly simple. My body would now process drinks super fast to keep my mind sharp. I tested a glass, felt the warmth, but stayed sober. Alden watched me down it. I called it useful. He joked it was potentially irresponsible and poured his own glass. Rich guys just love their little tests. I had Randall's massive investor dinner in 2 days anyway. This skill would stop me from signing bad deals. Whispering quietly, Alden warned me that Seth wants a fight. I can keep it controlled if you agree before Damon starts more drama. Seth Driscoll was the undisputed king of the gym. He built his entire reputation on winning so cleanly that other guys happily hyped up his legend for him. So I asked, what does he want to prove? My dorm trick and the card game where Fluke wins? Alden looked at the pool. Damon wants in, and Travis probably does too. I took another slow sip. 3 grown men targeting 1 freshman? Alden just shrugged. Pride gets pretty expensive. I glanced around our massive suite. Believe me, I noticed. Alden warned me that Seth was incredibly fast and absolutely loathed being publicly disrespected. Accepting the challenge anyway, I told him to set the fight and let me handle the price. This suite earned Travis's grudge, and my hype got Seth's attention. 1 crazy pool party, 3 total volunteers. The next afternoon, Victoria picked me up outside the hotel for our dinner with the wealthy Roland Beckett. Her fitted cream coat looked incredibly expensive. Her face, though, basically screamed that my casual wardrobe was a direct insult to her family name. Scanning me from head to toe, she told me I cannot meet Roland Beckett dressed like some kid who won a hotel in a card game. Technically, I just scared them into our customer base. Victoria walked away. That exact attitude is why I am buying you this suit. She explained that Beckett cares more about loyalty and usefulness than raw wealth. He was coming to judge if her father's young prodigy was capable of managing real adult money. Stopping outside a high-end menswear store, she smiled and said her advice has a price. I reminded her that her father already invited me. The invite gets you in, but I'm teaching you how to survive. So what is the price? Victoria simply tapped her cheek. I leaned closer, but get this, she moved at the last second, stole a quick kiss, and immediately snapped a picture for proof. Looking at the screen, she claimed it was just a consultation fee and marketing expense before quickly saving the picture. She joked it was proof her fake boyfriend can follow orders, even if the stubborn dog still refuses the leash while wearing her suit. Losing that round was fine. Inside, Victoria rejected 3 jackets before I could even touch the fabric. The 4th coat fit perfectly, making the clerk instantly show some respect. Victoria stepped up and adjusted the collar for me. Standing that close made the mirror view way too distracting. Defending myself, I teased her that the suit was getting pretty amazing service. Victoria flattened the lapel, telling me not to flirt with the tailor and asking who was even talking about me. She paused, stepped back, and warned me that Roland Beckett uses wine as a sneaky social test. Apparently, her dad joins in because older men mistake liver damage for mutual trust. When I asked if the drinking worried her, she glared. "Why is that a good thing?" she asked. I just smiled, knowing my suit had already passed. 2 nights later, we headed to the private club. Only 4 people in that room actually mattered: Victoria, her father Randall, the powerful investor Roland Beckett, and myself. Roland Beckett was her father's highly influential, politically connected ally. The sharp investor glared at Randall's expensive watch on my wrist before even looking at my face. Victoria's father poured our first drinks. Randall bragged that I recovered a huge chunk of his account losses. Roland Beckett placed one hand near his wine, muttering that luck can explain one win. I prefer repeated results myself. Beckett then asked what I would do with $10 million tomorrow. Keep it liquid until panic creates a heavy discount. I never buy what the crowd is chasing. Roland Beckett glanced at Victoria's father, Randall, and raised his glass. Victoria had warned me that market question opened the door. The wine was the real test. Randall Whitmore and the investor matched me drink for drink. After the second glass, Victoria's father finally loosened his tie. By the third glass, Roland Beckett repeated his question. The fourth left my hands completely steady. My alcohol-resistant skill cleared each glass faster than they could pour. Roland Beckett set down his glass, asking if I had done this before. I claimed I just bought the right bottle once. Randall laughed too hard and missed my actual answer. The investor threw out one last market question. I answered it directly, skipping all the fake flattery. By the final bottle, Randall Whitmore was gesturing wildly with both hands. Roland Beckett was leaning heavily toward the table while I sat perfectly upright. Then, the investor finally named my reward. "Manage $10 million, he said. Victoria spun around. Roland Beckett added that the principal stays his. I would get a management fee plus a cut of any gains beating the benchmark, while Victoria's father got full reporting access. I accepted. Victoria stopped hiding her smile. $10 million boosted my status, giving any future bad trade a very wealthy audience. Roland Beckett offered his hand, telling me to make him money. I shook it, saying that was the plan. Randall raised his glass, nearly missing mine. As both older men reached for another bottle, I chose to pass, letting my eyes drift shut as I leaned sideways. Victoria caught my head in her lap, snapping my name. I just let one of my arms fall completely loose. Randall waved at me, scoffing that young people have no endurance. Roland Beckett nodded like he had won something back, and the pouring stopped. Victoria bent close to check my breathing. I cracked one eye open, her face shifted, and she called me a fraud. I shut it again. Calling it a consulting fee, Victoria pinched my ear under the table. She still helped me out of the club since her father and the investor were watching us. At the Crestview drop-off, Renee walked out of the library with a folder clutched tightly against her chest. She saw Victoria supporting all my weight. Renee's eyes drifted slowly from my closed eyelids down to Victoria's hand wrapped around my waist. "Congratulations," Renee said, asking if she finally made me quiet. Victoria simply shot back, asking if she was jealous. Renee opened the door, mocking the dead weight she was carrying. I cracked one eye open, muttering that I could hear both of them. Renee's mouth tightened. Calling it tragic, she said she hoped the alcohol had improved me, then walked away before I could reply. The class monitor volcano still had plenty of heat. Victoria shoved me upright, telling me to walk, so I did. The next afternoon, Victoria dragged me through a department store to pay her back for that fake collapse. Suddenly, a bracelet in the jewelry case caught my eye. It was simple metal, clean design, and exactly the kind of status symbol I could wear without looking like Derek had picked it out. The clerk checked the price tag and told me the piece was already reserved. I took one last look and left it behind. But wait, the jewelry had to wait, because a real fight was calling. My phone rang right then. Alden confirmed Seth accepted the match, and Damon wanted in too, all because of Monica. Travis wanted his pride back after the car incident and the dorm cleanup. Seth wanted all 3 of them to face me together. I told Alden to bring cash, a camera, and 3 pens. Victoria snatched the phone, saying she would bring the camera. Meanwhile, the adults had just given me $10 million to manage. Now, 3 college guys wanted to prove I did not deserve to stand beside her. Their timing was absolutely terrible. On Saturday afternoon, Victoria and I entered the campus gym carrying 3 shopping bags and one highly ridiculous wager. I carried the bags while Victoria handled the camera. She called herself my sponsor, but I called this unpaid manual labor. Waiting across the mat were Seth Driscoll, Damon Thorne, Travis Calderon, and Alden Trower. Seth was the gym king who treated defeat like a mere rumor. Damon was that creepy guy who pinned girls against the wall at the pool. Travis was the key thief who already lost his money, dignity, and a whole evening cleaning up fake intestines. Honestly, this entire social circle needed some serious supervision. A dozen seniors were watching near the weight racks. Seth picked a public gym because he wanted his pride restored in front of everyone. Perfect, because public meant witnesses. Victoria raised her phone, recording from the very first signature. I placed 3 one-page wagers down. Each man put up $10,000, making a $30,000 pool. If I lost, I would stay completely away from Victoria. If they lost, they all had to steer clear of her and pay up by Monday noon. Those signatures locked in the $30,000 pool and the deadline. Alden read it, amazed I wrote this before they even agreed. I told him I put Victoria's name in the very first paragraph. Damon skimmed a line, asking if I thought paper protects me. I said it stops them from lying about the numbers later. Travis looked at Victoria, asking if she actually agreed to this. Victoria kept the camera locked on him, replying she only agreed to record them signing. Travis set his jaw and finally signed. Damon signed next, pressing hard enough to nearly rip the paper. Seth did not even read past the cash amount, signing lazily before shoving the sheet toward me. Unconscious before payment matters, he sneered. I signed last. Then Seth pointed at Randall's watch on my wrist, claiming I hid behind Whitmore money, hotel staff, and cheap tricks. I kicked Victoria's bags away. He barked that I brought 2 guys to expose his tricks, while Damon stepped forward, saying they would teach me some respect. He claimed even Renee was sick of me. Looking at his taped-up nose, I told him Renee usually argues for herself. Monica wanted him to let go, but neither woman sent him here. A few students laughed, and Damon's face tightened. Seth raised a single hand to silence him. The guy had trained here for years. Everyone cleared off the equipment as he approached, and even Alden watched. It seemed this local king believed the room belonged to him forever. Seth finally stepped onto the mat. I looked at Damon and Travis, offering to fight one at a time, or all 3. Damon laughed while Travis stayed quiet. Alden warned me Seth was serious, but I told him I knew. Victoria called out from behind her phone, saying not to ruin the suit. My sponsor clearly had her priorities straight. Both Damon and Travis tensed up seeing how comfortable Victoria sounded right beside me. $30,000 was cheap compared to getting her attention. Seth rolled his shoulders, saying Victoria was walking out with them. Victoria kept her camera level, saying she walks wherever she chooses. Seth smirked, telling her she would choose differently once she saw his real side. I snapped back that he signed the paper because a woman rejected him, and everyone in the room already saw that truth. Someone laughed right behind Seth, making his smile vanish. He had insulted me, claimed Victoria, and even invited witnesses to watch. And watch this, the idiot set his own trap. He has 3 guys, but I only need 1 to get greedy. I pointed directly at Seth, calling him out first. He took the bait completely, moving without warning and cutting across Damon's path. Damon hesitated, while Travis paused right behind him. That one arrogant choice had suddenly reduced my 3 attackers down to just 1. Seth's right fist shot straight for my jaw lightning fast. Clean. He fully expected me to back away. I tracked his shoulder, then his hip. The punch was heavy, but he committed all his weight before knowing where I would step. Slipping inside, I let his fist graze my ear. I grabbed his wrist with my left hand and drove my forearm under his elbow. Then I twisted my hips. Seth's balance went one way, his wrist went another, and the joint loudly popped. He crashed to one knee before his brain even registered the pain. The entire gym went dead silent. A guy putting away weights just froze. One of Seth's friends slowly lowered his phone. Alden's posture shifted from referee to a shocked witness. Victoria kept filming as Seth stared at his broken wrist. I turned to Damon, pointing out that their strongest guy only lasted a single punch. Damon lunged forward before Seth even hit the floor, despite having just watched their best fighter get crushed instantly. You'd think he would change his plan, but Damon never met a bad idea he couldn't make worse. He rushed in with his shoulders high, trying to overwhelm me with sheer weight. Back at the pool, he trapped Monica against a wall. Now he wanted to bully me with his size. I let him take one step, then sidestepped left, and planted my foot. Damon's guard split open as he swung around. I connected with one sharp punch right to his nose, snapping his head back. That single blow stopped him cold, sending him face down onto his hands. Blood pooled under his nose as he stared at the mat in shock. He just knelt there, blinking through the pain. Damon cornered Monica with a wall before. Now this. Now half the senior gym watched him crawl for a towel. Pathetic. Travis stopped 3 feet away, his fists still raised high. He lowered his hands, slowly backing away as I turned toward him. Seth remained on his knees nearby, clutching his ruined wrist. Damon nursed his bloody nose. Their 3-on-1 ambush was now a direct 1-on-1, and Travis wanted absolutely nothing to do with me. I asked if he was still coming at me. Travis looked at the lens, the signed contract, and his 2 groaning friends. Travis muttered no, but Victoria forced him to repeat it on camera. He swallowed hard and admitted he was completely done. Someone whispered that he didn't even touch me. Travis slumped his shoulders in shame as Alden quickly stepped between us to end it. Picking up the contracts, I reminded them I expected $30,000 by Monday and warned them to stay away from Victoria. Seth muttered that he heard me, looking up at Victoria as her camera panned down to his broken wrist. Alden grabbed an ice pack, while Travis backed away and Damon remained flat on the floor. They were free to leave. Seth forced himself up. Alden tried to hand him ice, telling him to sit down, but Seth angrily jerked his arm away. His breath came in sharp, ragged gasps. His left hand twitched right by his waistband, and I kept my eyes on his shoulders. Alden stared at the swollen wrist. Victoria captured every single detail on video while Travis slowly backed up to the wall. Damon quietly clutched his bleeding nose in silence. I held up the signed wager right in front of Seth's face. I told him to pay up by Monday noon and stay far away. His eyes remained locked onto his own signature. He glared at Victoria's camera, looked down at his broken wrist, and suddenly reached his left hand right behind his waistband. Victoria spotted the motion first, yelling a warning. I spun around just in time to see a folding knife flash in Seth's hand. The coward was striking after the bell. Crowd scrambles back from the mat. Travis instantly throws his hands up. Damon freezes right there, towel still pressed against his face. Victoria records, her voice cracking. Calvin, move. Seth lunges from 3 paces away. His balance is completely shot, but he still lunges. Look at that, the blade is tracking straight for my ribs. Less than a second. 3 steps is just too close for a clean retreat. If I turn, my ribs are wide open. Alden is still too far to grab him. I can either get stabbed trying to dodge, or stop the blade myself. I choose the hand. My right palm clamps over the cold metal. Pain hits before I even see the cut. Grabbing Seth's wrist with my left, I drive his arm straight down. The blade tears deep as he resists. Warm blood slicks my fingers, and my grip weakens. Seth presses down harder. Pinning his left elbow to my ribs, I step outside his leg, using his own forward momentum to pivot him. Next, I twist his arm and drive him face first into the mat. The knife flies loose, hitting our signed wager before sliding across the contract, leaving a streak of dark blood behind. Victoria screams out my name. Alden boots the knife away, pinning Seth's shoulder to the floor while I catch my breath. Meanwhile, Travis presses himself flat against the gym wall. Damon stares at all the blood, completely forgetting his own broken nose. Seth tries to squirm, but Alden crushes him down. Stop, he growls, you lost. Seth goes still. That is the defeat he refused to accept 30 seconds ago. Victoria drops to her knees. Phone still recording every second. Snatching a towel, she wraps it around my palm. Her hands shake. Press down, she orders. I squeeze. Blood immediately drenches the first layer of cloth. The pain is throbbing now, my fingers refusing to close. My system could boost physical stats, but actual medical healing is still level-gated. No easy shortcut for this wound. Inside the gym, Victoria looks at the cut and goes completely pale now. She does it while pulling the towel tighter. That footage is gold, showing the signed loss, her warning, and Seth bringing a knife after the fight. But my hand is the emergency now. Alden holds Seth down while another student wraps the blade in a towel and carries it off. No one is cheering. They came for a show, but now I am bleeding heavily. Victoria presses down. I hiss through my teeth. Do not act calm right now, she snaps. Just do not. The gym doors swing open as a crowd gathers in the hallway. Some people are pointing at Damon's bloody face. Others see Seth pinned down. The towel turns red. The rumors fly before we can exit. Kids are whispering that 3 seniors jumped me. Others claim it was all over Victoria. Nobody even mentions the actual cash wager. The entire school has already spun this brutal assault into a dramatic love triangle. Victoria keeps her arm wrapped around me, pulling me quickly toward the parking lot. Alden trails behind us just to ensure Seth stays pinned down until the witnesses can speak. Travis will not even look at me. Damon is slouched against the wall. Seth lies on the mat with a ruined wrist and a phone full of hard evidence. I beat all 3, but now my right hand cannot feel 2 fingertips at all. 10 minutes later, Victoria is speeding through the streets, pressing a fresh cloth to my palm at every single light. Watch the road, I tell her. Shut up, she snapped. The ER doors slide open. The fight is over, but my medical bill? It is just getting started. At the hospital, the doctor cleans my wound while Victoria clutches my bloody sleeve. The slash runs incredibly deep across my palm. The doctor lays out 3 harsh truths. I need stitches, and recovering full movement will take 2 whole months. This scar is staying. Seth lost cleanly but still left me a massive bill. The doctor asks me to wiggle my fingers. My thumb moves slightly. The index finger just trembles. The other 2 barely respond at all. Victoria watches intently, counting every single twitch under her breath. She was calm while driving, but this test makes her hands shake. Try again, she whispers. The doctor stops her. I need to keep my hand completely still. Victoria nods, going quiet. She stands by my bed with dried blood staining her sleeve. Her phone keeps buzzing with texts, but she ignores them. Send the video to 2 safe backups, I tell her, and keep the original. Victoria does it immediately. She texts Randall our location, explains the situation, and sends over a copy of the video. His reply flashes before the doctor grabs the syringe. I am coming. The video stops Seth from lying about the knife, but healing is still level-gated. The doctor slides the numbing needle right near the cut. Victoria winces, looks away for a second, then forces herself to watch. Searing pain radiates up my wrist. Meanwhile, my national investment challenge is ticking. Roland just handed me $10 million. Randall expects big results, and our hotel venture is currently just a fancy forecast built on Victoria's $2 million. My primary hand will not close. That answers one question, but makes every expensive problem infinitely worse. The hospital worker asked how I got injured and whether security needed to review the footage. I gave them the simple version. 3 guys agreed to fight, but then one pulled a knife. Victoria showed her phone. It is all recorded. The worker nodded, leaving us alone. Then, the first painful stitch went through. Victoria gripped the bed rail so hard her knuckles turned completely white before she slowly let go. She kept scanning the tray, the door, and my face. Victoria had spent months controlling every single room. But here, the doctor and the clock ran everything. Right before the final stitches, a forum post reached Victoria. A headline claimed the country's rising finance prodigy got stabbed while fighting over a wealthy heir. With a blurry gym photo naming this hospital, things got wild. It was just a cash bet, but they turned it into a love triangle war. Some claimed I was fighting for Victoria, while others blamed Renee for the whole mess. Another even made up a championship belt. Leave it to campus gossip to watch a legal cash contract and still learn nothing. The hospital name gave everyone a direct map. Just 2 minutes later, rapid footsteps echoed down the hallway. Kayla Donnelly burst in first. This gold digger used to calculate the price of every gift before even looking at me. She ignored everyone else and rushed straight to my bedside, grabbing my right arm and pulling it against her chest. Severe pain shot right through my fresh stitches. I groaned out loud. The nurse snapped that it was my injured arm. Kayla let go so fast, she almost fell, her face turning pale as she stammered that she was sorry and did not know. As I clutched my bandaged hand, Kayla's eyes welled with tears, crying out that I could have been killed. Silence followed. Right behind her, Renee Chandler rushed in, out of breath and still clutching her class monitor folder. Renee froze. That bandage. She tried to hide her terror behind a cold mask, but she completely failed. Renee demanded to know what happened. Victoria answered first, saying Seth pulled a knife after I beat all 3. Renee stared at me, asking if I really beat all 3. I nodded, and as Kayla stepped closer, Victoria blocked her. Victoria told her he needs space. Kayla glared at Victoria's bloody sleeve, snapping that she was not a nurse. She claims she is my girlfriend. Talk about a bombshell. Renee whipped her head around, demanding since when. Victoria said it started before Renee ran here. Kayla pointed at me, asking if I agreed, but I stayed silent. The doctor pulled the next stitch tight, stopping the arguing. Renee set her folder down and stepped closer. She asked if I would still be able to write. The doctor repeated his warning, saying it would take 2 months. Renee stared. The investment challenge required speed, and my hand was ruined. She knew my novel deadlines were at risk, too, but only I knew how bad this threatened both. Renee took my left hand, carefully checking my fingers. She asked if I could type one-handed. I said badly, and she promised to send over her challenge notes tonight. Her voice turned formal, stating that as class monitor, she would handle my academic notes. Kayla crossed her arms, offering to help outside of class, but Victoria snapped back that I already have help. Kayla pulled out her phone to cancel all her plans, while Renee started listing every class I was going to miss. Victoria told them I had not been discharged yet, then looked directly at Renee. She revealed that Damon used her name before the fight, claiming Renee's anger gave him an excuse to put me in my place. Renee froze. Renee's face tightened as she insisted she never asked him to fight me, but Victoria replied that he used her anyway. Looking at my bandage, guilt completely replaced Renee's serious mask as she stepped closer, saying she did not know. I told her I knew. Kayla touched her shoulder, but Renee did not budge. Victoria stood on my other side, holding the recording. This former doormat had basically taken over the hospital schedule. Finally, the doctor finished the last stitch and wrapped my palm. Before anyone could claim my next hour, the door suddenly swung open. Randall Whitmore walked in, saw the blood on his daughter, and immediately focused entirely on her. The father speedrunning our wedding rushed straight to my bed, asking how bad it was as I lifted my bandaged hand. Randall's jaw clenched. He scanned Victoria from head to toe, asking if she was hurt, but she shook her head. She told him she recorded everything. Randall took the phone, watched enough to see Seth's knife, and handed it back. With a cold expression, Randall asked if Seth attacked after the fight ended, and Victoria confirmed the video showed it all. Randall nodded. Whatever revenge he planned would have to wait until we left. For now, he just pulled up a chair close by. Randall looked at the doctor, demanding they give me every treatment I needed. The doctor reassures him that my hand is stable but needs time, finally putting an end to Randall's interrogation. He glares at my bandaged hand and then at the Whitmore watch on my wrist, reminding me of the competition, the hotel plan, and 2 massive accounts. I say I know, but Randall snaps back, then heal up before pride decides your next move for you. That is the closest Randall ever gets to lecturing me. Even so, he drags his chair closer. Kayla shifts near the wall. Renee stands beside her folder, and Victoria grips the bedrail as Randall looks at us. Watching Randall get close, Renee tries to pull Kayla away, but Kayla resists and insists on staying. Renee whispers that his family is here. Kayla stops resisting. Victoria remains completely silent. Randall takes this as fact while I stay quiet, unable to close my bandaged fist with Monday's big challenge looming. 2 major accounts and a hotel plan. Somehow, Renee still trusts my anonymous voice. Talk about a mess. Victoria's fake relationship just got exposed, right before the nurse says only one person can stay. Kayla tries to speak. Renee looks at Victoria, but Randall shuts it down instantly. Victoria is staying. Renee leads Kayla to the hallway. Then, the nurse pulls the curtain.